Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. You will become stronger when you are exposed to the sun. I will be the best for eternity. Chapter 81. Monitoring Room. Chen Fan, Genshin and the four great masters were shocked when they saw Chen Fan saying these words in an arrogant tone. Chen Fan, are you going to start a big fight? It would be unfair to compete like this. Actually, it's almost the same. Anyway, the top 10 geniuses will definitely be kept until the end, and the rankings shouldn't change much. Several great masters spoke one after another. Some thought this method was not feasible, while others thought it was feasible. Of course, they mostly felt that Chen Fan was too arrogant. If he dared to make such a request, he would probably be eliminated first and his ranking would directly drop to the bottom. What's the point of doing this? They couldn't figure it out. Young people are a bit youthful and energetic, which is understandable. Chen Fan Genshin was very open-minded. He was also arrogant when he was young and felt that he was invincible. Later, I met a more powerful genius and experienced a lot of things, and then I realized that there are people outside the world, and there is a sky outside the world. Chen Fan has not yet reached his age and is a little arrogant, which is actually normal. On the contrary, he still has some appetite for him. Maybe I can introduce my daughter to him. Chen Fan Genshin thought to himself. Anyway, his daughter is also a genius, and geniuses should have a lot to talk about. If he could facilitate this matter, he could also protect Chen Fan on behalf of the Chen Fan family. Even the Murong family would not offend their entire Chen Fan family just because of one Murong too. In the wide square, every genius is sneering. Does Chen Fan think he is invincible? One man wants to challenge the rest of us. Even if you defeat a spiritual master, you shouldn't be so arrogant. You really don't know the heights of the world. I'm going to teach him a lesson. A genius is surrounded by thunder, his clothes automatically move without wind, and even his eyes are flashing with thunder. His awakened talent is the thunder attribute, possessing extremely terrifying explosive power. Wait, let me go. A young man with black hair stood up, and a kind of flame burned on his body. It was a crimson flame, exuding an astonishing temperature. What he awakened was an extraordinary talent. His flame was the flame of the red sun, which was higher than ordinary flames. The temperature was infinitely close to magma. Chen Fan, you are too arrogant, so what if you are a master? Another genius stood up. This genius had an ordinary face and looked like a passerby, making it easy for people to ignore him. But the mental power he exuded was at least 3 times stronger than Long Chen just now, reaching the level of a master. Even the aura of other geniuses was slightly suppressed by this genius. Who is he? Could it be that he is a dark horse comparable to the top 10 geniuses? I know him, his name is Yi Chang, he is from the Yi family. Soon someone knew the true identity of this mentally powerful genius. These geniuses who stepped forward released their pressure and attacked Chen Fan. Most people's expressions would have changed drastically, but Yi Fan faced the pressure of everyone like a breeze blowing on his face, and his expression did not change at all. Although you have made a breakthrough and become a Grandmaster, you are not the only one who has made a breakthrough. During this period, my improvement is not weaker than yours. Yi Chang's huge mental power formed a huge tiger shadow in the sky. It was the embodiment of his mental power. The terrifying mental pressure made most of the geniuses present breathless. Feng Chengtian felt the phantom of the tiger in the sky with horror, and his heart was trembling. It's too strong. In the genius selection competition, there are so many people stronger than me. Feng Chengtian originally thought that except for Chen Fan and the top 10 geniuses, there were very few people who could defeat him. But now he found out how wrong he was. Yi Chang, who suddenly appeared, was so powerful that it was frightening. Lu Sheng's face was solemn, his eyes narrowed slightly, and he didn't even want to stay here any longer. So many geniuses make him, a genius from Jinling, look ordinary. It was also the first time for him to experience the feeling of looking up to others. This is indeed a place full of geniuses. Chen Fan, just a commoner, dares to challenge all of us after defeating an ordinary spiritual master. It's a joke. Beat him and let him know what true genius is. Among the top 10 geniuses, 2 geniuses also spoke up. They did not do it themselves. It was not that they did not want to do it, but that they believed that Chen Fan was not qualified. If anyone challenges them, they will take action. Wouldn't it be too disrespectful to lose their status? So they wanted to see Chen Fan being ravaged by other geniuses, making him regretful. Recognize the reality and the gap clearly. You are very unlucky. If you are the first to attack me, you will be the first to be eliminated. Chen Fan looked at Yi Chang and said calmly. There was no sarcasm in his tone, as if he was telling a fact. When Yi Chang heard this, he laughed on the spot. Then I'll wait and see if you have such strength. After saying that, he began to use his mental power to attack Chen Fan. Spiritual martial arts, tiger watching kung fu. He also practices sea-level spiritual martial arts. The reason why he is stronger than Long Chen is because he has cultivated this spiritual martial arts to a level close to perfection. Therefore, the power exerted is extremely terrifying. Some of the geniuses around who had slightly weaker mental strength felt a sense of fragmentation in their souls, and they couldn't bear it any longer, so they all took a few steps back. Roar! Suddenly, everyone saw that there seemed to be a tiger roaring on the stage. At this moment, their souls were shaking, as if they were about to explode. Many geniuses quickly stabilized their souls and reduced the damage of this soul pressure. The top 10 geniuses watched all this coldly. They were not affected by the pressure of souls. The 2 geniuses who had awakened the elements of thunder and fire also took action immediately. Electricity appeared on one person's body and turned into a bolt of lightning. Red flames on the other person's body burst out, forming a fire dragon and rushing towards Chen Fan. The 3 geniuses took action together and seemed to want to eliminate Chen Fan instantly. Facing the attacks of the 3 men, Chen Fan sneered and said, I'll defeat you all with one punch. Chen Fan did not say this arrogantly, but just told the truth. The 3 geniuses put no pressure on him at all. Such opponents made him feel that this ranking match was getting more and more boring. Golden energy began to flow in his body, and then he clenched his fists, bowed slightly, took a deep breath, and punched out without hesitation. His punch contained the power of true energy. In a daze, everyone saw a fist seal burning with golden flames pressing into the void. With explosive power and huge pressure, it attacked many geniuses. With this punch, Chen Fan directly unleashed 3 million combat power, displaying an extremely terrifying violent force. This force swept towards the 3 geniuses like a stormy sea. Such a battle made the top 10 geniuses who didn't care at all open their eyes, trying to see clearly the outcome of this duel. Yi Chang and the other 2 geniuses, who were originally high-spirited, suddenly changed their expressions when faced with Chen Fan's punch, and a ridiculous feeling was born in their hearts. They felt that they could not resist, but they had no way out and could only fight with all their might. Roar! He increased the output of his mental power, and the roar of the tiger became louder and louder, as if it was about to tear apart everyone's souls. The power of thunder in each of the remaining 2 geniuses gathered together and turned into a 3-meter-large thunder hammer, which bombarded Chen Fan. The remaining genius, the Crimson Flame, condensed into a blade and struck towards Chen Fan. Boom! Everyone used their powerful methods, and the next moment they collided with each other, making a deafening sound. The 4 people's attacks collided fiercely. Instantly separate. 3 of the figures took several steps back, their faces solemn. The lion shadow formed by Yi Chang's mental power dimmed a lot. The remaining 2 geniuses had their chi and blood power greatly weakened, and there was cold sweat on their foreheads. Originally, they thought that Chen Fan was just bluffing. Even if he had just broken through to the Grandmaster realm, he would not be able to match the 3 of them. But Chen Fan's punch just now carried an indomitable force. If he hadn't pulled back his force in time, I'm afraid the 3 of them would have died. Just now, a fear of death enveloped them, causing them to have a brush with death. Chen Fan put his hands behind his back and looked at the 3 geniuses calmly. I lost. Yi Chang lowered his head and took the initiative to admit defeat. He knew that with his own strength, he would never be Chen Fan's opponent. The gap between them was too big. The opponent could restrain his own strength at will, but it seemed that he didn't even use half of his strength. Facing such an opponent, he felt a sense of despair in his heart. Continuing to fight is just humiliating yourself. Thank you, we will admit defeat too. The remaining 2 geniuses curbed their pride and took the initiative to admit defeat. An opponent who could put them at a disadvantage and even kill them in one encounter was simply not something they could defeat. If the fight continues, I'm afraid Chen Fan won't hold back. The whole place was so silent that you could hear a pin drop. Everyone was shocked, even the top 10 geniuses, their eyes became serious. In the control room, Qingfeng Zhenshan, who originally had a calm face, suddenly lit up with a surprised expression when he saw Chen Fan swinging that punch. How could he be so powerful? Qingfeng Zhenshan was shocked. He only knew that Chen Fan had condensed a golden body of qi and blood, which would only have about 2 million combat power at most. But the punch just now contained true energy, and it had a feeling of suppressing everything. That kind of power was probably at least 3 million. 2 million and 3 million are two completely different concepts, which can be said to be worlds apart. Several great masters were also shocked at this time. The punch that Chen Fan used just now followed a certain perfect arc. During the process of swinging the punch, the muscles on Chen Fan's arm actually seemed to be as if alive. It flows quickly and erupts with terrifying fist marks. They could clearly see that Chen Fan performed the punch easily. This means that Chen Fan may still have a lot of hidden strength. However, several great masters breathed a sigh of relief and regained their composure. After all, they saw Chen Fan kill the Black King Kong with their own eyes. So they can still accept this scene. Although this Yi Chang is said to be comparable to the top 10 geniuses, he is actually only close, and his mental attack can only barely reach the master level. It is normal for Chen Fan to defeat this method. Perhaps, this Chen Fan can really create a miracle. The breeze shook the sky, paying close attention to Chen Fan at this moment. Chen Fan is too strong. He has gathered strength. We must defeat him. A genius stood up. Although he saw Chen Fan defeat other geniuses, he was unwilling to accept it, and Chen Fan was on top of him. He was not willing to let Chen Fan become the second Murong Xingqian. If you want to build momentum, you have to constantly suppress the geniuses. There are too many geniuses to defeat, and your look can scare some ordinary geniuses. Murong Xingqian was like this back then. He swept all the way and was invincible without encountering any opponent. Qingfeng Wangyu, Xuanyuan Wei and the others are also like this. They actually have a kind of momentum in their bodies. Standing there gives people a feeling of invincibility and makes them feel unable to catch up. If you want to suppress my aura and form your own momentum, let me see if you have the strength. Qing Fengli, one of the top 10 geniuses, stood up, grinned, and a trace of cruelty flashed in his eyes. Chen Fan, today I will end your path to martial arts. A huge aura emerged from Murong Jun's body, and his true energy flowed rapidly, while he also used spiritual martial arts. Above his head, a huge black python emerged, sticking out its tongue and exuding a sense of spiritual pressure. Chen Fan, even if you are very powerful, don't try to suppress all of us. Qingfeng Qian also joined the resistance, because the pressure released by Chen Fan at this moment had suppressed all the geniuses except the original 4 young masters. If they don't take action against Chen Fan now, they will have fear and cowardice in their hearts, and may even have nightmares. At that time, it will really never be possible to surpass Chen Fan, and I can only look at his back. The 2 geniuses flew towards Chen Fan without any words. Chen Fan's eyes were calm. Facing the 2 geniuses who rushed up, he punched each of them. Bang bang. This time he did not hold back and used part of his strength. The 2 geniuses quickly fell back and flew off the stage like cannonballs, vomiting blood from their mouths. However, this did not stop other geniuses from rushing towards Chen Fan, and everyone was unwilling to be suppressed. This time, there were 12 geniuses who rushed towards Chen Fan. Each of them unleashed their most powerful martial arts, and the terrifying power of qi and blood filled the air. Among the 12 geniuses is Qingfeng Li, one of the top 10 geniuses, and he also uses mental attacks. What he condensed into a knife was a knife that seemed to be able to tear apart space. With indomitable power, it swung forward and slashed at Chen Fan's soul. The power of his sword was obviously more powerful than the power displayed by Yi Chang. But at this moment, the 13th genius took action. The black python condensed by Murong Jun opened its bloody mouth and bit towards Chen Fan, trying to tear Chen Fan's soul apart. With all kinds of overwhelming attacks, even the original 4 young masters probably didn't dare to show any signs of neglect and had to go all out to face the many geniuses. Being so arrogant and trying to build your own momentum will eventually fail. Ji Yulong said coldly. Although he felt that Chen Fan was also very powerful, he would never be able to withstand the attacks of so many geniuses. After all, several of the top 10 geniuses took action and used their unique skills to completely defeat Chen Fan. Chen Fan stood there and looked up at the overwhelming attacks. He took a deep breath and then slowly exhaled it. Well done. Many geniuses are besieging Chen Fan alone. The scene looks extremely spectacular, but Murong Xingqian and the others have not taken action yet because they disdain to do so. But at the next moment, Chen Fan's eyes suddenly changed. Although his original eyes were sharp, they were more gentle. But now, his eyes were indifferent. Chen Fan clenched his fists, and saw golden flames lighting up on his fists. With the bonus of the destruction fist, a terrifying pressure spread from his body. At this moment, the hearts of many geniuses were beating violently, and many even had cold sweat on their heads. Even Qingfengli and Murong Jun felt an unusual feeling. Boom! There was an explosion in the sky, and everyone saw a golden fist seal again, but the power of this punch seemed to suppress the sky in an instant. It has the bonus of a destructive artistic conception, with a supreme power of will. The giant pythons condensed by Murong Jun huddled together and trembled. The blade condensed by Qingfeng Li's mental power was broken into 2 pieces in midair, a mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth, and his eyes were full of horror. The other geniuses also felt uncomfortable. They all felt indescribably depressed and their breathing became uneven. You must know that Chen Fan's punch has not really hit them yet, it just condenses the fist seal and floats in the void, giving people such an unparalleled sense of oppression. Murong Xingqian, who had been watching coldly, became serious at this moment and said, "Is this the intention of the destruction fist?" Monitoring room. The breeze shook the sky, and I held the chair with my hands, feeling a great impact on my heart. The same was true for the remaining 4 great masters, with strange expressions on their faces and shock on their faces. Destruction fist intention, the power of artistic conception. Chen Fan, what a peerless evildoer. Their hearts were filled with emotions, even a little excited and shocked. Such a supreme genius was actually born in their Zhongnan mansion. The 4 young masters, who were originally arrogant, looked down at Chen Fan's farce of wanting to challenge all geniuses. But now, their hearts were shaken, their faces became extremely solemn, and they looked at Chen Fan with fear in their eyes. This kind of genius should never have been born in Zhongnan mansion. Unexpectedly, he was bumped into by them. They would both become Chen Fan's foils and each other's stepping stones. I don't believe that the destruction fist can suppress everything. Xuanyuan Wei changed from his previous relaxed state, and a terrifying force of energy and blood emerged from his body. His body glowed with golden light, which was the golden body of energy and blood. However, no one cares about it now. Although the Qi blood golden body could be considered a trump card before, it is completely inadequate now. Each of the 4 young masters has condensed their energy and blood into a golden body. Before, it could be said that the golden body was indestructible and invincible. But facing the destruction fist intent, the Qi blood golden body was completely vulnerable. It was not on the same level at all. The gap was too big. Above Xuanyuan Hui's head, the sky was filled with wind and snow. This is exactly the spiritual martial arts he practices. That's B-level martial arts, snow wind kung fu. One genius exclaimed, recognizing this terrifying martial arts. Countless snowflakes fell, and everyone's souls felt an unbearable sting. Then, countless snowflakes condensed into a sword blade, which flew out from the snowstorm, carrying a terrifying power and quickly slashed it down. Murong Xingqian, a star above his head condensed, bloomed with infinite brilliance, and swept towards Chen Fan. This is the B spiritual martial arts he practices, immortal stars. 2 kinds of extremely terrifying mental coercion, overwhelming the geniuses around him, headed towards Chen Fan with an indomitable force. Qingfeng Wangyu and Ji Yulong looked at each other, neither willing to be suppressed by Chen Fan. They are top geniuses, and they all have their own arrogance. Even if they know that they may not be able to withstand Chen Fan's punch, they are not willing to let Chen Fan easily step on them and gather his own invincibility. Ji Yulong clasped his hands together, the energy and blood in his body surged rapidly, and then a large amount of thunder erupted from his body, which quickly condensed into a spear. The violent thunder power spread in all directions, and the geniuses around them took a few steps back, with shocked expressions in their eyes. Just some of those violent thunders spilled over and landed on them, making them tremble and feel unbearable pain. It's hard to imagine how terrifying this move would be. This is not a spiritual martial art, but its power is probably irresistible. What Qingfeng Wangyu displayed was not spiritual martial arts. The power of the elements on her body condensed into a crescent moon. The crescent moon emits bright moonlight, which looks soft, but has an astonishing lethality. The moonlight shines on the ground, and the ground silently melts into a pit half a meter deep. The four young masters all used their strongest methods to defeat Chen Fan's momentum and attack. The other geniuses gritted their teeth and used their strongest methods, even Feng Chengtian and Liu Shang. However, they were forced to have no choice. Chen Fan's current momentum was too strong, and he suppressed everyone without hesitation. If they completely retreat at this moment, they will leave a shadow on the path of martial arts in the future. Some people may even have difficulty making progress throughout their lives and always stay in the current state. But no matter how many people took action, Chen Fan's eyes were always indifferent and he didn't care. I saw his eyes condensed, and the golden fist seal he condensed instantly bloomed with unimaginable pressure and momentum, suppressing all geniuses. The examiner who was standing here, presiding over the assessment, was completely stunned. Although he was also a master, he felt that these geniuses were too outrageous, especially Chen Fan, who was even more powerful than him. That destructive fist intention made his soul tremble, and he felt an indescribable fear. But fortunately, he was not Chen Fan's opponent, otherwise endless despair would have emerged in his heart. Today, I may have to witness with my own eyes the birth of a peerless genius. The male assessor sighed. He and other assessors were on duty in turns, and it was his turn today. He didn't expect to encounter such a lucky thing and witness it with his own eyes. In the control room, the breeze shook the sky, and he could no longer suppress his excitement and shock. His eyes were fixed on the screen, unwilling to even blink. The same was true for the other four great masters. Their eyes almost popped out because this matter was so relevant. This may be a future king-level powerhouse. They were not even qualified to contact such a person before. The master of Zhongnan Palace once told them that ordinary people are not even qualified to look directly at a powerful person who can be crowned king. A strong man of this level, with strong energy and blood, is like a true god to the Grandmaster. The powerful ones who have been granted the title of king can suppress all unrest and are the backbone of the human race. They are good and can protect a place's peace. If they do evil, blood will flow into rivers and millions of bones will become seas. One can imagine how terrifying such a strong man is. In the eyes of the powerful kings, these great masters are probably just bigger ants, which can be easily killed with just one finger. But the Chen Fan in front of him has this potential, and even has a high probability of doing so. If not for anything else, it was because he had awakened the destruction fist intention, which was the strongest power of artistic conception. In the future, our human race may give birth to a new king, a supreme king. Qingfeng Zhenshen's eyes showed an unparalleled shock. And today, he was going to witness with his own eyes the elegance of such a superb king in his youth. That is a height that the Qingfeng family will never reach in this life. As long as Chen Fan can successfully become the king, one person can create a big family, far beyond their Qingfeng family. The fist mark pressed against the sky, carrying an irresistible force. Everyone could not even escape, and could only release their strongest martial arts to meet the fist mark. However, Chen Fan's punch used the strongest martial art he had practiced, the Guangyang fist, which directly caused a double increase. The combat power is directly doubled, and combined with the destruction fist intent, the power of this punch has reached an astonishing 7 million. Therefore, all genius attacks were destroyed. Whether it was the spiritual attack of the spiritual master or other martial arts attacks, they were all destroyed under this punch. Even the concentrated attacks of the four young masters could not hold Chen Fan's fist seal for more than 2 breaths before it shattered. Immediately, everyone's figures flew out like rag dolls, and everyone vomited blood and fell to the ground. The scene was a mess. Especially Murong Jun, Qingfengli and the others who were the first to attack Chen Fan. They were closest to Chen Fan and suffered the most damage. Their condition was extremely bad, and the clothes on their chests were stained red with blood. Especially Murong Jun. He felt like a joke, his eyes were filled with shock, and he said in a bitter tone, "I'm so ridiculous, I even thought about cutting off his martial arts path, but he ended up cutting off his martial arts path." Quote. After he was defeated by Chen Fan, he knew that he would never be able to surpass Chen Fan in this life and could only live in Chen Fan's shadow. Qingfengli lowered his head and gritted his teeth. His heart was full of reluctance, but he had to accept this reality. The gap in strength between them and Chen Fan was really outrageous. The power of Chen Fan's punch made him feel like he was facing a real Grandmaster, leaving him completely defenseless. This feeling of powerlessness and despair is really uncomfortable. There were some geniuses whose fingernails pierced their skin so hard that even blood spilled out. They didn't feel anything at all, because they were all feeling extremely uncomfortable at this moment. Most of them looked down on Chen Fan's background, but such a person defeated these so-called aristocratic geniuses and rose to the top of the list. Chen Fan stood alone on the high platform, with sharp eyes and a heroic spirit, giving people a young and energetic feeling. But all the geniuses looked at Chen Fan as if they were looking at a god and demon. They could feel that Chen Fan had gathered an invincible power, which made them feel fear and awe deep in their hearts when they saw Chen Fan. That is an existence they can never surpass, and they deserve the first place. There was awe in everyone's eyes. A person from a small place, as a commoner, defeated all the nobles and won the first place. He also understood the rumored fist intention. His future achievements are immeasurable. As for Chen Fan's originally ordinary talent, no one cared about it anymore. They were already sure that it was definitely a mistake during the test. If ordinary talents can really reach this point, then they might as well just kill them with a piece of tofu. This is completely contrary to common sense. Murong Tu's death in his hands was not unjust. Murong Xingqian's voice was heavy, even hoarse, and there was a deep sense of powerlessness. He originally wanted to regain face for the Murong family, but also wanted to interrupt Chen Fan's martial arts path and let him live in his shadow. This makes him feel more uncomfortable than killing the other party. But now, he has become Chen Fan's stepping stone, boosting his reputation. His path to invincibility in martial arts was cut short. When people talk about this trial in the future, they will definitely mention that Chen Fan overcame the crowd, defeated them all by himself, and reached the top spot. And he will become the defeated loser. Murong Xingqian was extremely proud throughout his life and never had any defeat. He was almost synonymous with the invincibility of the younger generation. He was aloof and looked down on all the geniuses. But now, he was looked down upon by Chen Fan. It was also the first time for him to experience this feeling, powerless, desperate, and difficult to catch up. At first, he thought that he would only feel this way after leaving Zhongnan Mansion, but now he completely understood that geniuses could emerge from every place. Even in Jinling, which he considered to be a remote place where all kinds of cultivation resources were backward, there were still people who could easily surpass him and defeat him, a nobleman. Xuanyuan Wei also felt uncomfortable. The strongest attack he unleashed was so vulnerable to the golden fist seal that it collapsed immediately upon contact. That destructive power simply suppressed everything, making any of his methods futile. This is a bit like a dimensionality reduction attack. This kind of power is simply irresistible. Under the destruction fist, all means of resistance are in vain, and everything will be easily crushed. Xuanyuan Hui's long-standing self-confidence and pride are now completely shattered. He is now at the 6th level of the Grandmaster realm, and is about to enter the late Grandmaster stage. His own combat power has reached more than 2 million. In addition, he has the talent of a spiritual master, so he has no shortcomings. He originally planned to win the first place in this selection, but now it is completely shattered. Ji Yulong and Qingfeng Wangyu were also very disappointed. As extremely talented people, they were defeated so miserably, which was really hard to accept. Outside world. Examiners Zhang Meng and Bai Shu were stunned on the spot when they looked at the picture that appeared on the screen, feeling an indescribable feeling in their hearts. All of them guessed wrong, and all of them were wrong. They originally thought that Chen Fan was just a wolf, but now they discovered that Chen Fan was completely a tiger. He ran into the pack of wolves and directly swept and crushed him. All geniuses have become Chen Fan's foils and tools for Chen Fan to become famous. After today, no one in the entire Jiangnan mansion knows that Chen Fan is a genius. All this indeed exceeded the expectations of all the examiners. One examiner's eyes flashed, he picked up his mobile phone and immediately dialed a number. Hey, Palace Master, I have some important news to tell you. This matter is of great importance and the Lord of Jiangnan Palace must be notified. Generally speaking, the Master of Jiangnan Palace is busy with affairs, and these geniuses can only be seen when participating in the National Talent Selection Competition. But now that something has happened today, I am afraid that even the Lord of Jiangnan Palace will come here in person. Monitoring room. One of the 4 great masters also dialed the number at this moment to inform the Palace Master of what happened here. I know about this. You are too slow in delivering the news. I am already on my way. A rich male voice came from the other end of the phone, and then hung up. The breeze shook the sky, and I was not surprised at all when I learned from the content of the phone call that the Master of Jiangnan Palace was here. Such a terrifying genius is enough to alarm the Lord of Jiangnan Palace. This is a talent that has been rare in Jiangnan Palace for hundreds of years. Anyway, as far as he knows, there has never been such a talent in Jiangnan Palace. Pity. The breeze shook the sky, and he suddenly sighed, feeling that Chen Fan was really unlucky. If a genius like him was born in a bigger place, he would have been discovered long ago. But Chen Fan comes from an ordinary family. He has reached this position step by step, already one step behind others. Coupled with his own talent, although it is not an ordinary talent, his highest guess is that it is probably only a saint-level talent. With such a talent, it may be the limit to become a powerful king. If Chen Fan was born in a larger family and in a broader place, then his potential might reach a higher level, and he might be able to become a venerable. You must know that one step is slow and one step is slow. Sometimes if you delay a step, your future achievements will be very different. Although the king-conferring person is invincible and powerful, if he can become a venerable person, the entire Jiangnan mansion will receive key attention from above, and various cultivation resources will continue to flow. Being able to become a powerful king is enough to shock us. This is a miracle. Jiangnan Mansion, will also have a king in the future. The 4 great masters were very happy and felt that Jiangnan Mansion would definitely get better and better in the future. Regardless of whether they are kings or venerables, they are existences that are difficult for them to come into contact with. Ahem. The examiner coughed twice and recovered from the shock. Geniuses, the qualifying competition is not over yet. Although the first place has been determined, there are still top 10 that need to be confirmed. The main thing this time is to decide on the top 3 and let them participate in the national selection competition together. However, there are rewards for the top 10, and they also need to be ranked. As for entering the genius training camp, the top 50 geniuses can enter, which means everyone present can enter. Most geniuses have completely given up on rankings at this moment, because they know the gap between them and the top geniuses. Therefore, the second and third places were decided among the 4 young masters. The top 10 were decided among the original top 10 geniuses. The 4 young masters began to compete. Qingfeng Wangyu versus Murong Xingchen. There was no suspense in this battle. Although Qingfeng Wangyu was powerful, her strength was still not as good as Murong Xingchen's and she was defeated by her opponent. Xuanyuan Wei also successfully defeated Ji Yulong. There is no doubt that they are the second and third place. Then the 2 of them started a separate duel. It could be said that the 2 of them were fighting each other, and the methods they used were dazzling. Moreover, when they faced off, they were evenly matched, not a completely crushing one. In the end, Murong Xingchen was even better and won second place. But there was no excitement in Murong Xingchen's eyes. After all, he originally wanted to reach the top. Xuanyuan Hui's defeat didn't make him feel too big, because the difference in strength between him and Murong Xingchen was not very big, and he could catch up as long as he worked hard. But Chen Fan felt that he would never be able to catch up in this life, which made him a little desperate. Unless he can also understand the power of artistic conception, he will only be able to look up at Chen Fan's back in this life. Other geniuses also began to compete and finally successfully completed the ranking. Outside world. In the auditorium, the city lords of major cities were waiting outside to announce the rankings. Zhang Lin looked up at the big screen in front of her, already predicting that Chen Fan would definitely be eliminated. With so many nobles, it was impossible for him to break out of the encirclement. On the huge LCD screen, names began to slowly appear. However, only the top 10 are shown above, and the rankings of geniuses at the back will not be revealed. No. 10. Zheng Tian. No. 9. Qingfeng Qian. Quote. No. 4. Qingfeng Wangyu. No. 2. Mirong Xingchen. Looking at the names that kept appearing on it, Chen Fan was not even in the second place. Zhang Lin and Dragon City Master both thought that Chen Fan was eliminated, but this was also expected by them. The competition for the top 10 is extremely fierce. How can it be possible to win the ranking? There are 3 geniuses from Jinling among the top 50. This is a good thing. Dragon City Master looked at it with openness. Even if he didn't make it into the top 10, he was very satisfied with this result. Chen Fan, are you also missing everyone? The blue-haired girl by Chuyu sighed softly, feeling regretful. She originally wanted to see Chen Fan create a miracle, but the miracle did not come. That's normal. There are too many geniuses here. Zhang Lin felt powerless in her heart. With so many geniuses, it was really difficult to break out of the siege. But at this moment, number 1 began to appear on the screen. Everyone stared at the top attentively, wanting to see who could defeat Mirong Xingchen. No. 1. Chen Fan. As soon as the name appeared, the scene immediately became silent, as if everything had stopped for a moment. Lord Dragon City, isn't this Chen Fan from Jinling? A city lord with a white beard asked. The Dragon City lord's expression was very rich at the moment, including shock, surprise, and confusion. It was hard to imagine that so many expressions were changing at the same time. Chen Fan won the first place in this trial. At this moment, he really didn't know what to say. After all, he had never thought about this first, not even dreamed of it. After all, Jiangnan province ranked first in the selection competition, and the gold content was extremely high, which meant that Chen Fan's current strength was probably not weaker than his own. Being able to defeat Mirong Xingchen and the others and win the first place is simply a miracle. Chen Fan is number 1. Bai Chuyu was also shocked. She originally thought that Chen Fan might not be conspicuous among the many geniuses, but she didn't expect that he would still create a miracle just like before. Chen Fan, you are such a person that no one can see through. Bai Chuyu said with emotion. At this moment, the most unbelievable thing in my heart was Zhang Lin. At this moment, she remembered what she had said to Chen Fan. She believes that Chen Fan will become the last person after joining the talent training camp. But now Chen Fan has won the first place in the selection competition. He will move to a bigger stage and will not stick to a small Jiangnan training camp, because he is already the top talent here, no one else. Being able to get first place means that Chen Fan has the potential to become a general. Thinking of these, her mind went blank for a moment, as if she had forgotten to breathe, and there was no reaction for a long time. Even the Grandmaster was a big shot to him, let alone the general, who was at the level of the Lord of Jiangnan Palace. She was not even qualified to contact such a person. In the entire Jiangnan Mansion, the Lord of Jiangnan Mansion is unequivocal. He can even be said to be a local emperor. His words are equivalent to imperial edicts in this area of Jiangnan Mansion. No one dares to disobey. Thinking that Chen Fan would become such a big shot in the future, Zhang Lin felt regretful and wanted to slap herself twice and beg Chen Fan for forgiveness. The other geniuses from Jinling now look proud. Although they were eliminated, they from Jinling are number 1, which is enough. The expressions on the faces of many noble geniuses are also very complicated. Shock, confusion, uneasiness, trembling heart, heavy face, etc. It was difficult for them to accept this result. If Mirong Xingchen was replaced by another genius, they would still be able to accept it. However, they were stepped on by a commoner, which simply shattered their pride. As a big family and nobles, they have their own pride, which is natural. But now they understand that even among civilians, geniuses can easily surpass them and win the first place. I declare that this genius selection competition has officially come to an end. Please return to the square and accept the rewards. The voice of a great master came from the loudspeaker. The sound spread in all directions and could be clearly heard dozens of kilometers away. Many geniuses have also returned from the camp. Of course, the most dazzling one is Chen Fan standing in front. Nowadays, he has defeated many geniuses and has accumulated an invincible power. He stands out among the crowd, as if all the geniuses are inferior to him. Chen Fan's temperament became more noble, with a domineering aura about him, as if he was the only one who dominated. Many noble geniuses did not dare to look directly into Chen Fan's eyes and lowered their proud heads. Many talents have returned to the square, but the person who will award the award has not yet come. At this moment, 4 great masters appeared at this moment, and there was another figure beside them, that was Qingfeng Zhenshan of the Qingfeng family. There were 5 great masters, and the auras released from their bodies directly enveloped the entire audience. Most geniuses looked at these 5 great masters with awe. However, the original top 10 geniuses and Chen Fan did not have much respect for these 5 Grand Masters, because they felt that sooner or later, they would be able to cultivate to the realm of Grand Masters. Especially Chen Fan, if he goes all out now, even the Grand Master may not be able to defeat him. Everyone, regarding the awards, a big shot will come to hand them out in person later. One of the great masters stood up and informed everyone. This made everyone couldn't help but whisper. Who is the person who can make even the great masters call him a big shot? Is it possible that the master of Zhongnan Palace has arrived in person? Probably not. The Lord of Zhongnan Palace usually only sends his cronies to host the talent selection competition. He is very busy, so why would he come in person? Maybe something happened that we didn't expect. Some people have guessed that something may have happened in the talent selection competition this time that they did not expect. While everyone was talking, a sun suddenly appeared in the sky. To be precise, it should be a person. The man was walking in the air, and behind his head, there was a golden circle of light. Countless spots appeared on the circle, like shining stars, rotating in a very orderly manner. This is the General's divine ring. Someone exclaimed in a low voice, I know, what is the identity of this person who came. Only after reaching the level of General, the power of Qi and blood will reach an astonishing level, and the back of the head will condense into a divine ring, which represents the strength of one's own combat power. It is said that even the weakest generals have a basic combat strength of 15 million. This is an unimaginable concept. If they use martial arts, they will be as powerful as destroying the world. I saw the invincible general in the sky slowly falling, and the golden ring behind him was also restrained by him, revealing his appearance. It was a young man who looked 30 years old, but his eyes were full of vicissitudes of life. Even if he had restrained his energy and blood, everyone could feel the powerful breath of life. Awe and fear arose involuntarily in my heart. Greetings to Master Zhongnan. The 5 great masters saluted at the same time, completely letting everyone know the identity of the general in front of them. As expected, he is the most powerful person in Zhongnan Palace now, the Lord of Zhongnan Palace. It is said that the palace master is over 70 years old. I can't believe his appearance. He looks so young. Someone in the crowd was very surprised. At the same time, I also feel envious. A strong person at the level of a general has strong energy and blood, and can even maintain a youthful appearance. This is really aspirational. This is the powerful strength that gives them a long life and a youthful appearance. It is said that a strong man at the level of a general can live to be at least 300 years old, sitting back and watching the vicissitudes of the world. For ordinary people, the general is already a godlike existence to them. You must be Chen Fan, you are indeed a young hero. The Lord of Zhongnan Palace came to Chen Fan. I've met the palace master. Chen Fan saluted. The rewards haven't been distributed yet. You are the first. I will give you the reward you deserve now. Lord Zhongnan, a light flashed in his hand, and a low-grade martial arts book, a 4th-level cold attribute elixir, and a 5th-level ferocious beast crystal appeared. This is the reward for first place. Thank you, Master. Chen Fan put all these things into his Kandlong ring, preparing to use them later to try to break through to the Master Realm. Then, the Lord of Zhongnan Palace distributed other rewards, but he didn't talk as much to the other geniuses as Chen Fan, he just encouraged them. After all the rewards were distributed, Palace Master Zhongnan walked up to Chen Fan again and said, Chen Fan, I have something important to tell you. Come with me. Chen Fan had some doubts in his heart, but he did not hesitate and followed the master of Zhongnan Palace all the way to an office. This office is very spacious, and someone even offered me some tea. Drink some tea first. Master Zhongnan's tone was gentle. If he didn't take the initiative to show the power of qi and blood, it would be difficult to imagine that this was actually a general. Chen Fan took a sip of tea and felt an endless aftertaste in his mouth. This tea tasted much better than ordinary tea. Chen Fan, you are very good. You are able to awaken the destruction fist intention at this age. You have a bright future. Zhongnan Palace Master praised, with a smile on his face, and he was very happy. The master of the palace has given you too much praise. Chen Fan said modestly. It is the pride of our Zhongnan mansion to have such a talented person like you. But I called you here this time because I have something to tell you. You are now the first place in the talent selection competition, but what you are about to face is the national selection competition. In this national selection competition, you will meet even more powerful talents. So I hope you can go all out in the national selection and strive to get a good ranking. The master of Zhongnan Mansion said seriously. Chen Fan nodded and said, I will perform well in the national selection competition, but if I just explain these things, the palace master shouldn't call me here specifically, right? The master of Zhongnan Mansion took a sip of tea, put down the teacup, and continued, You are the prodigy of my Zhongnan Mansion. Naturally, I have more important things to tell you. This time, in the national talent selection, if you can get a good ranking, you will have a bright future, because this selection is a little different from the previous selections. In fact, there will be a large number of outstanding geniuses. Among them, there are many geniuses who have understood the artistic conception. There are even some who have cultivated to great masters at a young age. You are actually not the most conspicuous among them. When he said this, the master of Zhongnan Palace also had a hint of emotion. He had not originally had this idea in his mind. He thought that it was impossible for the entire Zhongnan Palace to have a genius who could win the ranking in the national selection competition. So this time, he didn't bother to come over to watch the Zhongnan Mansion's talent selection competition, but asked his subordinates to handle the matter. Because he has long known that this year, there will be a large number of peerless geniuses, far more than before. You must know that in the past, the genius who could understand the artistic conception was destined to be ranked, but this time it was not certain. It was all because people at the same level as him had received an important piece of news. Therefore, all major families are sparing no effort to cultivate young talents, hoping that they will get good rankings in the national selection competition. Chen Fan was a little surprised when he heard the news, because according to Master Zhongnan, it seems that there are many geniuses who have awakened to the artistic conception, and there are even geniuses who have surpassed the realm of masters. It seems that the quality of this national selection competition is indeed very high. Palace Master Zhongnan collected his thoughts and said, Chen Fan, you must be very clear this time. The final assessment rewards of this national selection competition will be extremely amazing, and may even reward S-level low-level martial arts. But this is not the most important. There are various other rewards, those rewards are beyond your imagination. The most important point is that as long as you get a good ranking, you will even be directly noticed by the big shots in the 10 academy palaces, and you will be directly accepted into the academy. You may even directly become a disciple of those big shots. Quote. He said these words because he wanted Chen Fan to really go all out in the national selection competition. After hearing these words, Chen Fan secretly made up his mind to achieve a good ranking. Of course, his ultimate goal was to be first. He doesn't think his talent is weaker than anyone else's. As long as you have enough training resources, or even just bask in the sun every day, you can continue to become stronger. It's just that the speed of getting stronger by basking in the sun is still a bit slow, and you still need to obtain more training resources. If you advance hand in hand, your training speed will be far faster than other geniuses. Next, I want to tell you the most important thing. Don't get too excited after hearing this. Don't tell anyone about it. Just know it yourself. Palace Master Zhongnan looked solemn when he said this. It was obvious that this matter was very important. All ears. Chen Fan was also very curious in his heart. What on earth did the Lord of Zhongnan Palace want to say to him? This national selection, according to the information I received, is to cultivate immortal seeds. Immortal. When Chen Fan heard this, he had some doubts in his heart, because he had never heard of this realm, and the highest realm he knew was only the venerable. Yes, immortal. When Zhongnan Palace Master mentioned these two words, his eyes were full of yearning. You are from a commoner and have not reached a certain level. It is normal for you not to understand this realm. Next, let me tell you what immortality is. This is the realm above the venerable. It is known as the realm of immortality. After cultivating to this realm, the human body will break through an astonishing limit and realize the sublimation of life. After reaching this state, you will have a lifespan of at least 3,000 years, so it is called immortal. But this is not the most important thing. After cultivating to this level, they are the top combat power of our human race. They can kill tens of millions of ferocious beasts by themselves. With just one move, they have the power to destroy the world. With just one thought, mountains and rivers can collapse and stars dim. This realm is what we and other generals dream of reaching, but my potential is limited and I know that this is just a vain idea in my heart. But you are different. Palace Master Zhongnan looked at Chen Fan as if he was looking for hope. This time, the superiors suddenly told me to cultivate immortal seeds, which means you have the opportunity to reach this realm. This is a great opportunity. You must remember that this time you have to get ranked at any cost. As long as you can break into the top 30, you can get the attention from above. Even if you are only ranked 30th, you can enter the academy for focused training, and you can directly become the core disciple. Quote, you may not have much idea about the core disciples of the 10 academy palaces. I can explain them to you. The disciples of the academy are divided into several levels, namely, outer sect, inner sect, elite, core, true disciple, and saint son. If you only enter the 10 academy palace as the first in the Zhongnan selection, the treatment you will receive is only that of an outer disciple, and you will receive less training resources. You will need to work hard on your own to become stronger step by step. But if you directly become a core disciple, the training resources you will receive every month will be dozens of times that of an outer disciple. There will also be a dedicated teacher who will teach you individually every month, which will allow you to improve your strength faster. I'm used to the title disciple. Among the 10 university palaces, you should be called a classmate. Of course, it's okay to call me a disciple. Chen Fan, you must remember that in order to get a higher ranking, the higher the ranking, the more resources you will get and the better treatment you will receive. Especially the first place will be trained with the most emphasis. It is also the most likely to become an immortal existence in the future. Lord Zhongnan, his last words were louder and even a little heavier, obviously to make Chen Fan remember them firmly. His potential is limited, but Chen Fan is different. Once Chen Fan becomes immortal, he will bring the entire Zhongnan mansion to an unimaginable height. By then, as the master of Zhongnan Palace, his status will also be improved. It was not easy for a good prospect like Chen Fan to appear in Zhongnan Prefecture. He naturally hoped that Chen Fan could shine in the national selection competition. Thank you, Master, for informing me. I have taken note of everything. Chen Fan nodded. He knows that his sun god physique is different from ordinary genius physiques and requires a lot of training resources, so this time he also wants to be the first. Of course, the most important thing is the immortal seed, which can become a true immortal in the future. This is what makes Chen Fan most excited. It turns out that above the venerable, there is also the realm of immortality. Chen Fan is also confident in himself. As long as he has enough training resources, he will definitely be able to reach this level in the future. Auditorium. Lord Long's face was glowing red, and he was surrounded by city lords from other cities, all complimenting him. Congratulations. With the emergence of a peerless genius like Chen Fan, Jinling will become famous in the future. When I first saw Chen Fan, I knew that he was not simple, he was a peerless genius. When Lord Longcheng heard these words, he was very happy. He knew that these people were just hindsight. They saw such a genius coming out of Jinling, so they got close to him. But he was still very happy, with a proud look on his face, which was really glorious. Zhong Lin was a little lost at the moment. She was sitting alone on a chair in the auditorium, which was a corner where no one paid attention. She just saw with her own eyes that Chen Fan was called away alone by the master of Zhongnan Palace. It seemed that he had something important to explain. Being able to be so valued by the Lord of Zhongnan Palace will definitely have a bright future in the future. At least in the entire Zhongnan mansion, I am afraid that no one dares to offend Chen Fan easily, otherwise they will face the wrath of the Lord of Zhongnan Mansion. Zhonglin. At this moment, there was a voice in her ear. When she looked up, she saw a young man with long blonde hair and handsome appearance. He was wearing a white shirt and was smiling at her. Who are you? Zhonglin looked confused. She remembered that he did not recognize the man in front of her. Let me introduce myself. I'm from Wangdu City. My name is Bai Hu. I want to make friends with you. Zhonglin was even more puzzled. She remembered that people in Wangdu City always had their eyes set on the top. The surname Bai should be from the Bai family. The Bai family is also a noble family. Although it is not as good as the Morong family, there are also powerful ones at the Grandmaster level. Bai. How could such a person take the initiative to come over and make friends with her? With doubts, she chatted with this Bai Hu for a few words, and then she completely understood the other party's purpose. It turned out that Bai Hu had found out about it from somewhere. She was the assessor during Chen Fan's martial arts assessment. She thought he had a good relationship with Chen Fan, so she kept asking about Chen Fan's affairs. Zhonglin, is this Chen Fan really an ordinary talent? Bai Hu asked, looking very sincere. After Zhonglin learned the other party's purpose, she shook her head and confessed, "You don't have to ask me anymore. I thought he had an ordinary talent at the beginning, and I persuaded him to give up the first place to someone else. He must hate me very much now." Before she could finish her words, Bai Hu changed his face. He no longer looked gentle and elegant, but with a trace of disgust in his eyes. It's really unlucky. It's the first time I've bothered to get close to someone. Bai Hu turned around and left, not caring about Zhonglin's thoughts at all. Zhonglin offended such a peerless genius. If she got involved with her, she would definitely not end well. Zhonglin smiled bitterly, looked at the other person's retreating back, and sighed heavily. She also had a headache now and didn't know what to do. What she regrets most now is what she said to Chen Fan. Now that she thinks about it, she is hopelessly stupid. You shouldn't have been prejudiced at that time, but unfortunately it's too late to regret it now. On the high platform, the 5 great masters were also chatting. The master of the palace thinks so highly of Chen Fan that he even talks to him alone. It should be to explain the matter of Chen Fan's national selection competition. In the past, our Zhongnan Mansion was at the bottom every year. Maybe a miracle will happen this year. Zhongnan Prefecture is actually a province, but there are 36 provinces in the country, and their Zhongnan Prefecture is at the bottom. Every year, there are no amazing talents, causing the entire Zhongnan Mansion to lose face in the outside world. Don't look at Morong Xingqian. They have outstanding talents in Zhongnan Mansion, but once they go to the national selection competition, there are not a few such talents. It is almost impossible to get a good ranking and will be eliminated in the early stage. But things are different now. A Chen Fan has appeared, who may give them different hope. Maybe we can break this curse. Office. Chen Fan was about to say goodbye and leave to practice quickly, hoping to break through to the master level. Chen Fan, I still have 2 level 5 ferocious beast crystals here. You can use them to improve your strength first. The master of Zhongnan Palace waved his hand, and 2 crystal stones fell into Chen Fan's hands. Thank you, Lord Palace Master. Chen Fan cupped his hands and thanked him. Lord Zhongnan narrowed his eyes as if he was thinking about something, then opened his eyes and said, "By the way, there is one more thing I almost forgot to tell you. Since you have won the first place in the talent selection competition, then there is no need to enter the genius training camp. The training resources obtained there are of little use to you now." Chen Fan was a little reluctant when he heard it. He remembered that the system's task was to get first place in the genius training camp. How could he get first place if he didn't participate? At the same time, you are also the first place in the genius training camp. The 2 level 5 crystals just now are your reward for being first. Lord Zhongnan, after saying these words, took another sip of tea. Chen Fan was a little reluctant at first, but when he heard these words, he immediately felt relieved. I originally thought it would take some time to complete the mission, but it seems that the mission is now complete. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first, Chen Fan said. Good. Lord Zhongnan nodded. When Chen Fan walked out of the office, the system prompt sounded in his mind. Ding. Congratulations to the host for completing the task and receiving a reward. The sun's energy is doubled. The vision of the divine body is being unlocked and has been successfully unlocked. In an instant, a sun appeared vaguely behind Chen Fan, burning with blazing fire and filled with an astonishing pressure. However, all this is not over yet. In the sun, there is a little golden man sitting upright. The face of that little man is exactly the same as Chen Fan, but he has an aura of nobility, like a high god. Performance of the sun divine body, phase 1, 10 times the pressure, permanently increasing combat power by 50%, and summoning a ray of true sun fire every month, tempering the body, improving combat power. When this vision appeared, Palace Master Zhongnan, who was drinking tea in the office, stood up from where he was and looked up to the sky, with some uncertainty in his eyes. But this feeling quickly disappeared, as if it had never appeared. I must have made a mistake. How could our Zhongnan Palace have such a genius? The master of Zhongnan Palace sat down again and shook his head. He just sensed a terrifying aura and an extremely high-level aura. He had only sensed this kind of aura in geniuses with god-level talents. Chen Fan restrained his vision at this moment, and the prompt sounded again in his mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host for starting a new mission. Winning the first place in the national selection competition will double the solar energy as a reward and awaken the second stage of the sun god body vision. Chen Fan looked up at the bright sunshine on the horizon and strode over. Now it's time to find a place to break through to the Grandmaster. When Chen Fan returned to the auditorium, Feng Chengtian and other Jinling geniuses gathered around him, looking at Chen Fan with envy. That was a powerful town general. He was talking to Chen Fan alone. They were all curious, what exactly was said? Chen Fan, what did the master of the palace talk to you about? It's nothing, you just told me some things. Chen Fan did not go into details, because now he really wants to break through to the master realm immediately. You guys should go back to Jinling later. I have some things to do, so I won't go back with you. After Chen Fan said this, he left the place, leaving everyone with his back. Seeing that Chen Fan was unwilling to say more, they didn't ask any more questions. Chen Fan left the northern mountains alone and came to a training room. Practicing here requires spending some money, but the advantage is that it is quiet and no one will disturb him. Moreover, the training room is so strong that even the Grandmaster cannot cause any cracks in it. Chen Fan paid some money, entered the training room, and then took out the 4th level cold attribute spiritual grass and swallowed it on the spot. After swallowing the spiritual grass, Chen Fan could feel the infuriating energy in his body increasing dramatically, even bringing waves of chills to his body. However, as a sun god, he quickly adapted to the coldness and refined it all into his own pure energy. But this is not enough. Chen Fan feels that in order to break through the master level, he must absorb the power of the 5th level ferocious beast crystal. Without hesitation, he took out a crystal from the Kandlong ring and began to absorb it. Chen Fan practiced like this for half a day. When Chen Fan opened his eyes again, his whole body was filled with liquid like qi, which exuded an extremely hot breath. Even Chen Fan felt that his soul seemed to be condensed in the true energy. The countless meridians in his body are all filled with pure qi, which is at least several times thicker than the qi he had before he broke through to Grandmaster. Wanyuan returns to the sect. This is what it feels like to be a master. Chen Fan's heart moved and he knew that he was now the Grandmaster. After reaching the master level, all the meridians throughout the body can produce true energy, and the purity of the essence is greatly improved. The meridians in his body were like streams. Once you reach the master level, your true energy will be condensed and formed, with greater power and longer stamina. It can be more powerful and last longer than the martial artist level. When Chen Fan broke through to Grandmaster, he also felt that his basic combat power had directly increased by millions, and now it may have reached about 5 million. If the increase of the solar phenomenon is used, the combat power can directly reach 7.5 million. But Chen Fan is not satisfied, because he still has the ferocious beast crystals, and he wants to take advantage of this period of time to refine them all to improve his level again. In one fell swoop, he reached the middle stage of Grandmaster, or even the late stage. Chen Fan calmed down and began to continue refining. At the same time, many geniuses have also returned to their home cities. However, Each of them had a disappointed expression on their faces, because this time the warrior assessment was beyond everyone's expectations when these geniuses brought the news back. The entire Jiangnan mansion was in an uproar, and everyone had expressions of disbelief on their faces. Murong family. The head of the Murong family is a relatively young man, wearing black clothes with a black dragon carved on the clothes. His eyes are sharp and he is calm and intimidating. However, the current head of the family looked ugly. On the ground was a broken cup with freshly brewed tea in it, which had been knocked over to the ground. Murong Xingchen knelt on the ground, lowered his head, feeling unwilling but helpless. The head of the Murong family is his father. Xingchen, you disappoint me so much. You were defeated, and you were defeated at the hands of a commoner. The head of the Murong family had disappointment in his eyes. As the saying goes, the greater the expectations, the greater the disappointment. He originally thought that this outstanding son was destined to crush all geniuses, but now it was beyond his expectation. Father, temporary failure does not mean permanent failure. I will try my best to catch up with him. Murong Xingchen clenched his hands tightly and swore in his mouth. The head of the Murong family said, Xingchen, remember what you said, and shine in the national selection competition. During this period, I will ask the ancestors and others for the 6th level special elixir, the artistic conception grass. I hope you can also understand the power of the artistic conception. Thank you, Father. Murong Xingchen was ecstatic. Xuanyuan family. Xuanyuan Hui's father is an old man with a white beard. He looks like he could be his grandfather. Where, you did a good job this time. Keep working hard next time. The head of the Xuanyuan family had a son in old age, and he loved his only son Xuanyuan Wei very much. Father, although I failed miserably this time, I will definitely catch up with Chen Fan next time. Xuanyuan Hui's eyes burned with determination. Okay, tell me what cultivation resources you lack. The head of the Xuanyuan family said with a smile. Look at the capital city. In this city, in a magnificent hotel, dozens of powerful men at the Grandmaster level have gathered. They are all members of major families, and they gathered here after receiving the news brought back by the geniuses. But at this moment, the faces of these great masters all had expressions of disbelief and disbelief. As a Grandmaster, they shouldn't have been so rude, but now they were so shocked by the news they heard that they were speechless. You must have heard about it. A great master stood up. He was the great master of the Bai family, Bai Wucheng. The #1 spot in the talent selection competition was taken away by a commoner. It's really incredible. It is said that that person has an ordinary talent. This is really outrageous. It's not an ordinary talent. It must have been tested wrong. But how did this civilian genius practice so quickly? Even if he had talent, he wouldn't have been able to reach such a state without enough training resources. These great masters don't particularly understand this issue. Generally speaking, once they discover such geniuses, they will recruit them into the family in advance, allowing these geniuses to enjoy special treatment, and even marry women in their family, thereby increasing the strength of their family. But Chen Fan and the others discovered it too late. When they found out, Chen Fan had already won the first place in the trials, and it would be very troublesome to recruit him now. Bai Wucheng waited for everyone to finish speaking, and then he continued, everyone, Chen Fan hates evil as much as he hates evil, and his own talents are very powerful. We must not offend him. If we offend this person, there will be endless disasters in the future. Everyone nodded. Naturally, they would not dare to offend such a grown-up genius. I'm going to say something ugly first. Although several of our families have formed an alliance, if anyone wants to offend Chen Fan alone, I will kick him out of the alliance without hesitation. Everyone nodded and agreed with this decision. The entire Jiangnan mansion, and the big families who got the news at this moment, are also talking about it. Originally, I thought that the top 3 in the selection competition would be born from the 4 young masters, but I didn't expect that a dark horse would suddenly appear. The name Chen Fan is probably destined to be resounding throughout the country. Qingfeng Wangyu and Ji Yulong are not in the top 3, this is simply unbelievable. The talent they were all optimistic about was now not qualified to participate in the national selection competition, which made them feel sad. Murong family. In a small courtyard, there was a woman crying. The woman's appearance is extremely beautiful. She looks like she is in her 30s, but she is actually in her 40s. She is well maintained. Murong Yunhai, your son was killed, and you are still practicing here. In front of the beautiful woman was a man with a majestic face. He was the strongest Grandmaster under the head of the family and the second in command of the Murong family. Murong Yunhai was extremely angry when he learned that his son Murong too had died in the hands of a man named Chen Fan. But this time Chen Fan ranked first in the talent selection competition, and he also gained the attention of the palace master. If he killed Chen Fan directly, once the palace master found out, he would definitely die. Although the Grandmaster is strong, he is like an ant in front of the general. So this had to be done in secret. Wronger, don't worry, I will never let the murderer go. Murong Yunhai's eyes flashed with fierceness, and he secretly swore in his heart that he would personally kill Chen Fan. It's just that this matter has to be done secretly and cannot be discovered by others. A hot search is quickly dominating the rankings and soon ranked in the top 3. Obviously, someone is fueling this matter and wants more people to know about it. In an office, Master Zhongnan looked at the top 3 most searched lists with satisfaction, and there was even a video in it. The content in the video is exactly the scene where Chen Fan defeated many geniuses. This news should be known to everyone across the country. That's right, the person behind the scenes is none other than the Lord of Zhongnan Palace. Zhongnan Mansion finally produced such a genius, so naturally it had to be widely publicized. At the same time, Tianhe Province. It covers an extremely vast area, dozens of times that of Zhongnan Mansion, and has a large population, so geniuses are springing up like bamboo shoots after a rain. At this moment, there is a stone pavilion in a bamboo forest, and there is a young man sitting with a sword on his back. This young man has a unique majesty on his body. Just sitting there gives people a feeling of being as strong as a mountain and unfathomable. The true energy in this person is extremely strong and surrounds him all the time. The energy and power contained in his body are obviously much higher than those of ordinary masters. Although the flow speed is not very fast, whether it is pure or thick, it is dozens or even hundreds of times that of ordinary masters. At this moment, when the young man opened his eyes, it was as if a bolt of lightning pierced the sky, and his terrifying eyes seemed to be able to control a person's soul instantly. The surrounding bamboo leaves were cut by an invisible force and fell one after another. The moment they fell, the bamboo leaves shattered and dissipated in the air. If an ordinary Grandmaster saw this scene, he would probably be so frightened that his whole body would tremble and his soul would throb. Such methods are simply appalling. The boy with the treasure sword has a pair of bright eyes that seem to be shining at any time. His appearance looks like he is only about 18 years old, but his aura is terrifying to an astonishing level. Even Murong Xingqian and the others looked like trash compared to the young man in front of them. The boy with the sword opened his phone and checked the hot searches. He quickly noticed the third-ranked hot search. The #1 genius in Zhongnan Mansion, comprehend the power of artistic conception and destroy the fist intention. When the boy with the sword saw the title, he was immediately interested and clicked on it. He clicked on the video and watched the powerful young man defeating many geniuses, with a sense of destruction permeating his body. There was no wave in his eyes. Then he looked through the comments below and quickly saw several comments. I heard that this Chen Fan has an ordinary talent. Aren't you kidding that an ordinary talent can reach this point? It is said that Chen Fan took some kind of heavenly material and earthly treasure, which should have improved his talent to extraordinary, maybe even holy level. Isn't it difficult for even a king to obtain the treasures of heaven and earth that enhance talents? This Chen Fan is really lucky. Looking at these comments, the boy with the sword sneered and said, it's interesting that a loser can be lucky enough to get such a treasure and change his fate against the will of heaven. But for him, this just made him a little bit more interested. To him, the genius of Zhongnan Mansion was simply ridiculous. Tianhe Province's index of being able to participate in the national selection competition every year can exceed 30 every time, while the small Zhongnan Prefecture only has 3 indicators every year. This is the gap. Although Chen Fan is powerful and has understood the intention of the destruction fist, in his opinion, he is not afraid at all. He has not yet broken through to the Grandmaster. Such people do not pose any threat to him. He put his phone aside and began to concentrate on practicing and improving. In a picturesque place, there is a beautiful lake with many floating cruise ships. On one of the luxurious cruise ships, dozens of teenagers gathered together. They were looking at the scenery on the lake and felt that they were in a much better mood. However, at this time, their mobile phones suddenly rang. They took out their mobile phones one after another, and soon saw one of the pushed contents. After clicking on it, they went directly to the hot search list. They also see attractive content on the hot search list and click on it to watch the video. Geniuses who understand artistic conception can appear in a place like Jongnan Mansion. The intention of the destruction fist, but it seems that it didn't take long to comprehend, so it's not as good as the peerless genius. What are you thinking about? How can this person named Chen Fan compare with the peerless genius? The peerless genius they are talking about does not only refer to Tianai province, but also geniuses from other places. Those geniuses are so prestigious that even if they haven't participated in the national selection competition, they have already obtained information about those geniuses. The most famous person in their Tianai province is Wu Xin, the young man with the precious sword. It is said that this person already has the combat power of a town general. He even once forced a terrifying level 6 ferocious beast to retreat with one knife. He is a famous genius among them, a being that everyone looks up to. But there are talents like this in other provinces. For example, in the province next door, Xingyu province, there is also a peerless genius there. He is a member of the Tai family, and his name is also extremely domineering. It is said that his name is Prince, which means to make the world's proudest people surrender. However, this person is also extremely powerful, and of course his character is unparalleled, and he does not allow anyone to disobey his will. It is said that even his father can't do it. This is a self-centered character. Look, suddenly one of the young geniuses pointed forward. They looked over one after another and saw a young man wearing a golden cloud robe standing on a cruise ship. This young man had short hair and looked very energetic. He was standing on the bow of the ship and seemed to be on the boat. Feel something. Isn't this Mu Younghui? Yu Tiantian recognized this person's identity. This person is a member of the Mu family, one of the 4 major families in Kyoto. He is also a genius recognized by them, not weaker than Wu Xin, the young man with the sword. Is he the genius who mastered A-level martial arts to perfection in just half a year? Someone asked. Yes, that's him. It is said that back then, there was a powerful man who took a fancy to him and accepted him as his disciple, but he rejected him. When everyone heard the news, they felt incredible. If a powerful man accepted them as his disciples, they would agree without hesitation. Mu Younghui was also browsing the content on his mobile phone at the moment. After seeing the wonderful hot searches, he raised a smile. I didn't expect that a worthy genius could appear in that shabby place, and he was qualified to be me, followers. He looked away from the phone, and then looked at the sun in the distance, bathed in golden sunlight, and even his body was glowing with golden light. Behind him, there was a faint sword light like the scorching sun, and the terrifying sword light illuminated the entire lake. This is the A-level high-grade martial arts he practices. If he wants to take action, everyone present will die in a moment. The power of the artistic conception he comprehended was the sword intention, and its killing power was not weaker than the destructive fist intention. Soon, more geniuses saw this hot search, but most of them sneered. I feel that Chen Fan is just lucky. He has improved his talents and realized the power of artistic conception. This is like using up all his luck in this life. However, few of the geniuses who are preparing to participate in the national selection competition this time really regard Chen Fan as their opponent. In their view, a so-called genius like Chen Fan could only bully others in a small place. When you really get to the big stage, you will only be bullied by others. The young Grandmaster may be a great person in Jongnan Mansion, but in the eyes of geniuses across the country, this is a perfectly normal level of cultivation. After all, most of their geniuses have already broken through the Grandmaster level, and some of them have even reached the pinnacle of the Grandmaster level, and can even try to break through to the general level. Therefore, when these top geniuses looked at Chen Fan, they all looked at him with a scrutinizing gaze and did not regard Chen Fan as an opponent at all. After all, Chen Fan is not qualified yet. Kyoto. This is a province that is not very large in area, only about 3 times that of Jongnan Prefecture, but here, a large number of cultivation resources are gathered. Every year, Kyoto is one of the places where the top geniuses appear. At this moment, one of the 4 major families in Kyoto is the Xuanyuan family. On the leather sofa, there is a young man sitting here. This young man looks young, but he has the majesty of a superior. He is wearing black trousers, a white shirt, and a pure white tie. He looks very well dressed. For maturity. Master Honglang, Xuanyuan Ku from Zhongnan Mansion has once again applied to our master's family and asked us for an artistic conception fruit. Next to him stood an old man in his 50s who looked quite energetic. He was the butler of their Xuanyuan family. And the Xuanyuan Ku he was talking about was the head of the Xuanyuan family in Zhongnan Mansion. Xuanyuan Honglang's eyes were cold and he said, "A small branch dares to ask for such a thing from our main family. I refused directly." Xuanyuan Honglang remembered that this branch seemed to have only produced a few generals, and there were no very impressive strong men. So he didn't treat this branch with too much politeness. Yes, the butler nodded respectfully. "By the way, go talk to that branch and collect some information about Chen Fan for me. I want to take a look. Tell them that if they can't do this little thing well, they are no longer worthy of being a branch of my Xuanyuan family." Quote, "I obey, young master." The butler bowed respectfully. Xuanyuan Honglang picked up the transparent glass and poured a glass of red wine, then brought it to his mouth and took a sip, showing an expression of enjoyment. He paid attention to Chen Fan because this man understood the artistic conception of destruction that he dreamed of. Although he now understands the power of artistic conception, it is only the protective artistic conception that is good at defense. So he was eager to understand the new artistic conception. Perhaps, if I take this Chen Fan with me and let him perform it on me several times a day, I can understand it faster. He does not lack cultivation resources, and can even comprehend an artistic conception again at any time, but people like him can choose, and it is not meaningless to reawaken an ordinary artistic conception casually. One of the 4 major families, Villagea. In a villa, in a separate swimming pool, there was a boy with a well-proportioned figure and 8-pack abs swimming inside. He swam in it for about half an hour before climbing out of the swimming pool, but he didn't wipe his body with any towel. Instead, the body naturally releases a high temperature, which instantly evaporates the water on the body and emits a large amount of white smoke. Comfortable. Bei Lisheng enjoys this kind of life very much. This is his rare leisure time. Master, something interesting happened on the hot search list just now. A young boy came over and said. He is a good friend of Bei Lisheng and is now his follower. Oh, what's interesting? Bei Lisheng asked casually. The young man told Chen Fan's story. A genius from Zhongnan Mansion can actually comprehend the power of that kind of artistic conception. Bei Lisheng also found it particularly interesting after hearing this. He found that Chen Fan was somewhat similar to him back then. He was not from the Bei family before, but because of his great talent, he was spotted by a king of the Bei family. He personally accepted him as his apprentice and adopted son, and was given the surname Bei. Only then did he reach the sky in one step and reach the level he is at now. I am very interested in this Chen Fan. I happen to be short of a follower. I think he is very suitable. He is the one. Bei Lisheng said with a slight smile. And being his follower is actually equivalent to a servant, being driven by him. Such a genius cannot be captured by other families. Although his growth is still relatively slow now, once he has enough training resources, he can grow to an astonishing level. That's why he wanted to take the first step and recruit Chen Fan as a follower, who would become a fighting force beside him in the future. Chen Fan is really lucky to be chosen by you. The young man next to him complimented. Unconsciously. Less than half a month has passed, and in the training room, Chen Fan finally refined all the crystals. He really didn't expect that the 2 5th-level crystal stones given to him by Zhongnan Palace Master were actually the highest level. So it took him a while to refine it. Of course, the most important thing is that he often goes out to bask in the sun and practice martial arts, otherwise the refining speed would be much faster. At this moment, in the training room, Chen Fan's true energy was like a sea, giving people a feeling of vastness and unpredictability. A golden sun slowly appeared behind him, as well as the golden little man. Under the blessing of the terrifying vision, it exuded a kind of coercion that made people tremble in the soul. In the past half-month, Chen Fan has made breakthroughs one after another. Coupled with the energy gained from basking in the sun, he has now successfully entered the 7th level of the Grandmaster. That is the late-stage state of the Grandmaster. His combat power has also surged by 3 million again, and his current basic combat power is estimated to be over 8 million, and this is without using the Blessing of Visions. Once the combat power is used, it can directly reach 12 million. If the power of artistic conception is added, the combat power will be enhanced. So now Chen Fan doesn't even know what level his strength has reached. Anyway, if he is allowed to participate in the Jiangnan province talent trials, with the power of qi and blood and the strength of qi, even if he uses the lowest level of martial arts, he can easily defeat all opponents with one punch. Of course, in the past half-month, in addition to improving his cultivation, he will also successfully practice the A-level martial arts to perfection. But it took him 5 days. The name of this martial art is Shengyang Fist, which is a large-scale attack. The effect is also very simple. It can triple your combat power and has a burning effect. It seems not as good as the previous Guangyang Fist, but Chen Fan has already noticed the limit of Guangyang Fist. This B-level boxing technique can no longer produce 5 times the combat power, and can only produce twice the maximum. This is because his basic combat power is too high. As for the new martial arts he just practiced, he hasn't tried the burning effect yet. So after Chen Fan came out of seclusion, he immediately came to a special testing place. There are a lot of expensive machines here, but you have to pay for every test. The maximum combat power that these machines can test has reached an astonishing 20 million, so there is no need to worry about damage. In addition to machines, there are other testing things. For example, to test the effects of martial arts, there are special puppets. These puppets are made of special materials, and even the great master cannot break them. Chen Fan paid tens of thousands of yuan to get the chance to test. Arriving in front of the machine, Chen Fan took a deep breath, clenched his fists, and swung them forward. Boom! The machine vibrated violently, and the value quickly settled at 8.2 million, which was almost what Chen Fan expected. His original estimate of combat strength was around 8 million, which seemed to be not much different. Then, Chen Fan tested the burning effect again. Golden flames wrapped around his fist and fell on a dark puppet. This puppet turned black when it was burned by the flames. It was still swaying, but now it can't even move. It looks like it was burned. The burning effect is a bit scary. Chen Fan was secretly shocked. The burning speed is extremely fast. If used against an enemy, if the opponent is not strong enough to withstand it, they may be burned to ashes. After all, even the puppets that could resist the Grandmaster were burned like this. Chen Fan was particularly satisfied with the improvement during this period and was ready to return to Jinling. During this time, he also called his parents to report that he was safe. Chen Fan's energy and blood are like smoke, and his energy is as vast as the vast sea, so he is full of confidence in this national selection. He is confident that he will not be weaker than any genius. Even if there is a general in the national selection competition, he dares to take action against him. After all, he is now bursting out with all his strength, with various powers superimposed, and his combat power can reach the level of a general. Chapter 91. In a luxuriously decorated room, a man looked twisted and kept beating the wall. A large number of cracks appeared on the wall, which were densely packed and looked shocking. And this man was Murong Yunhai. He was preparing to secretly attack Chen Fan during this period, but he received a warning. The master of Jiangnan Palace sent someone to Murong's house to warn them. If Chen Fan is harmed in any way before the national selection competition, the debt will be placed on the Murong family. Even the head of the Murong family came over specially to persuade him with serious words, telling him not to take action against Chen Fan during this period. As a big shot in Jiangnan Mansion, Murong Yunhai had never been so aggrieved. After his son died, he was still unable to take action against the murderer. The lord of Jiangnan Palace is just a town general. Just wait. When I step into this realm, I will definitely settle the accounts today. The ferocity in Murong Yunhai's eyes rose sharply, like a mad wolf, as if it wanted to devour the human mind. If you want to break through to become a general, in addition to qualifications, you must also obtain sufficient training resources. In fact, his cultivation level is similar to that of the current head of the family. However, as the head of the family, all cultivation resources will be provided first, so the head of the family has the highest probability of breakthrough. And if he wants to break through the general, he has to find another way. At this time, he thought of Morong's family, which was a large family in Kyoto, but their branch had broken away. However, 2 years ago, a general from Master Morong's family came to him and told him that as long as he surrendered to his master, enough training resources would be provided for him to make a breakthrough. But the price is that after breaking through the town general and accomplishing what you want to do, you have to go to the master's house and become a follower of that big shot. At best, he is a follower, at worst, he is a thug, servant, etc., although it is still considered a good thing. But there has been a saying since ancient times, it is better to be a chicken head than a phoenix tail. In Jongnan Mansion, it can call the wind and rain, but once it reaches the master's house, even the general is just a figure who is called back and forth. So he has been hesitating, but today he felt an unimaginable frustration. So without hesitation, he started dialing the number. The hatred of killing Jiaozi is irreconcilable. If you don't break through the town general for 1 day, you will be shrouded in the shadow of Jongnan Palace Master and your hands will be tied up. Hey, sir, I've thought about it. Okay, this is a wise move. Come to Kyoto within 3 days. Soon he and the figure on the other side of the phone discussed it. At the same time, at the Jinling high-speed rail station, a tall young man with a gentle temperament stepped out of the car. The people around him looked hurried and got out of the car one after another, but many women secretly glanced at the young man a few more times. There is no way, the boy's appearance is so eye-catching, he is more handsome than the big stars on TV, and his good skin makes all women envious. The young man was Chen Fan. He walked towards the station entrance, but unexpectedly saw a banner. It says, "Warmly welcome Chen Fan, the #1 player in the Jongnan Prefecture trials, to return home." Chen Fan was speechless when he saw this banner. However, he had already guessed that this should be the work of the Dragon City Lord. He remembered that he only made one call to his parents when he came back. Maybe his parents informed the city lord. However, it was a good thing to have a special car to pick him up. Chen Fan walked towards the banner, and there stood a tall woman. The woman is wearing an off-white windbreaker and red stockings on her legs. She has long hair and bright eyes. She obviously has a good image. "Hello, I am sent by the Lord of Dragon City to welcome you back home." When the beautiful woman saw Chen Fan, she immediately smiled, revealing a row of neat teeth. It looked like she had practiced a smile for a long time. Chen Fan was still a little uncomfortable with it, but he didn't say anything and quickly followed the woman and got into a black car. The driver of the private car wore white gloves and a black suit. Chen Fan didn't really want to talk, and the two of them didn't dare to disturb him. They were silent all the way. After an unknown amount of time, the car stopped and Chen Fan got out of the car. Thank the Dragon City Lord for me. Chen Fan didn't know the woman's name yet, so he had to call her like this. I'll pass it on. The woman smiled and nodded. Chen Fan looked at the familiar neighborhood and walked in the direction of home. But when he returned home, he found that there were a lot of boxes at the door, including fruits, milk, and various other things. They were placed on both sides of the door, as if the door was regarded as a supermarket. Chen Fan took the key and opened the door. As soon as he entered the door, he saw his parents and sister above the living room, and of course there was an uninvited guest. That person had short, sleek hair and was quite pretty. She could be considered a beauty, but Chen Fan didn't have a good impression of this woman. Zhong Lin, did he remember that during the warrior assessment, this woman wanted him to give up the first place to someone else? Such a person is really a bit disgusting. Chen Fan doesn't have a good feeling towards this person anyway. Chen Fan, I'm sorry, I was short-sighted back then. Zhong Lin noticed that Chen Fan's face darkened the first time he looked at him, and he obviously didn't like her coming. So she apologized without hesitation and regretted her previous stupid behavior. Are you just here to apologize? Chen Fan looked at her and asked. Zhong Lin shook her head and said, City Lord Long is very busy today and has to deal with an important matter. He said that he will visit you tomorrow to accuse him. Come today, the Lord of the city asked me to convey a message to you. What news? Chen Fan asked. Zhong Lin informed. the national selection competition is scheduled for 20 days, I hope you will be ready. In the competition, there are many geniuses, just like the stars, and there are many of them who are unrivaled in their abilities. Dragon City Lord, let me tell you, if you really lose, you can just abandon the game and admit defeat. No matter what, you will always be our pride. Quote, when Chen Fan heard these words, his eyes flickered slightly. Sure enough, the national selection competition was extraordinary, there were such terrifying peerless geniuses. But he didn't take it to heart. He was rushing to win the championship this time. Even the most talented person would become a stepping stone for him. However, there are still 20 days left, which is indeed a bit tight. I don't know if I can break through one more realm. But it doesn't matter, even if you can't break through the realm, you can still improve your boxing intention. Chen Fan clearly knows that his destruction fist intent still has room for improvement, and this room is huge. This power of artistic conception should also be divided into levels. It's just that he hasn't been exposed to it before, and even the master of Zhongnan Palace may not know it clearly. There is also room for improvement in the martial arts eye. You can really improve yourself during this period, and you might get unexpected gains. Okay, I understand, Chen Fan responded coldly. Zhong Lin also knew that staying here would only add to the embarrassment, and she came here mainly to apologize. Uncle and aunt, I won't disturb you. Zhong Lin stood up, said goodbye to Father Chen and Mother Chen, and then left quickly. Xiaofan, be polite to your guests, Mother Chen said. She could no longer see through her son. A few days ago, the city lord personally came to their home, praised them, and told them that if anything happened, they could always ask the city lord for help. This was unimaginable to them before. But now it's really happening. Chen Fan showed a smile on his face and said, Mom, there is no need to be polite to that person. He didn't explain much. Mother Chen didn't ask the reason, but to make her son so angry, she must have done something very annoying. Okay, Xiaofan just came back. He must be hungry. Let's eat quickly. Father Chen pulled Chen Fan to the dining table. Soon, the family gathered together to eat. During the meal, Chen Fan saw the large and small supplements, fruits, milk, etc. in the room, and he didn't know what to say. No wonder those things are all placed outside the door, and the house is almost full of them. Brother, you are so powerful. I heard that you won first place in the Zhongnan province selection competition. Even the city lord said that you will become a very powerful person in the future. Even he must look up to you. The younger sister, Zhang Shui, was wearing a pink dress and white socks on her feet, with an expression of admiration on her young face. Since this incident, her classmates in school have envied her. People often ask her brother, how did he practice? Zhang Shui truthfully answered others that she basked in the sun every day, but no one believed her and thought she was making up nonsense, but it was indeed the case. Have you seen the milk and fruits at our house? People come to deliver them every day, and if you want to refuse them, you have to force them. My sister Zhang Shui felt very proud when she said this. Lao Lu's family also sent a lot of gifts, but we didn't accept them. We left them all outside the door. Father Chen said after taking a bite of rice. Mentioning this matter, Chen Fan then remembered that there was Lao Lu in the house next door to him. Mom and Dad, do you want to move to another community? Chen Fan asked. When this sentence was mentioned, the scene was silent for a while. Chen's mother said, forget it, we are all used to living here, and we all know the neighbors. We may not be able to adapt to moving to a new home. Father Chen also nodded in agreement, as did his sister Chen Shui. If you are used to living in one place and suddenly have to change your home, it will be a little uncomfortable for everyone. And they feel that their current life is already pretty good. Chen Fan didn't force his parents, maybe he would change his mind later. After eating and drinking, Chen Fan lay on the balcony to bask in the sun. On the balcony, a chair had been specially placed, prepared by his parents. This chair is a rocking chair. It can rock and roll when you lie on it, which is very comfortable. After Chen Fan came back, in addition to basking in the sun every day, he would also go downstairs to stretch his muscles. Then he would meet some acquaintances, who were all neighbors in the community. Every neighbor looked at him with awe, and some even smiled when they saw him, even a little bit to please him. You must be Chen Fan. Congratulations, you won the first place in Jiangnan Prefecture selection. At this moment, a man wearing an expensive suit greeted him with a smile. Chen Fan had confusion on his face. He didn't seem to recognize this man who looked about the same age as him. Chen Fan, this is my son named Long Fei. The Lord of Dragon City came over, and his special car was parked not far away. Lord of Dragon City. Chen Fan said hello. Then, Chen Fan invited Lord Long and others to his home for tea. Arriving at the living room, Chen Fan's parents warmly received the city lord and his son. Chen Fan didn't feel too big about it. Dragon City Lord is the Grandmaster, and he is also a Grandmaster now, and he is much more powerful than Dragon City Lord. In his eyes, the former Dragon City Lord was considered a strong man, but now, he felt that the City Lord was too weak. The Lord of Dragon City came here this time, firstly, to apologize for not picking up Chen Fan in person last time. Because he encountered an unexpected situation, he had to solve it. The second thing is to express his attitude and tell Chen Fan that if he encounters any problems in Star City, he can come to him for help, all unconditionally. At the same time, he also ordered the driver to bring in some gifts, including beautiful clothes and some food, which seemed to be valuable. When Chen Fan saw Lord Long being so kind to his family, he secretly made a note of this favor in his heart, and he would repay this favor if given the opportunity in the future. Before I knew it, 20 days had passed. During this period of time, Chen Fan's cultivation level has not improved significantly. Although the speed of energy improvement has accelerated, it seems that it is not that easy to break through. If you still want to bask in the sun, you will have to bask in the sun for another 10 days before you can break through to the 8th level of the Grandmaster. During this period of time, Chen Fan's martial arts eye has not improved much, but he just feels that his mental power has become stronger. As for the intention of the destruction fist, it has improved a lot, and the power of the artistic conception has become more powerful, but it has not been greatly improved, it can only be regarded as a small improvement. And now it's time for him to set off for the national selection competition. Chen Fan came to the downstairs of the community. There was a black special car here. Dragon City Master was also in the special car. He personally took Chen Fan to the high-speed rail station and waved goodbye. Chen Fan took the high-speed train and arrived at the place where the Master of Jiangnan Palace lived. This is where the main city lord of Jiangnan Mansion told him to come. Chen Fan came to a villa. This villa was extremely luxuriously decorated, which showed the precious identity of the palace owner and also showed that the palace owner was wealthy. However, as the only general in Jiangnan Mansion and the real person in power, it is normal to have such a luxurious residence. In addition to him, Murong Xingqian and Xuanyuan Wei also came. The auras of these two geniuses became more powerful, but Chen Fan didn't take it to heart. Although the improvement of these two people is huge, is it as big as him? You are finally here. When Jiangnan Palace Master saw Chen Fan coming, he stood up from where he was with a kind smile on his face. I asked you to come here this time because I have something to tell you three. You guys come with me first. The three people followed the Palace Master to a large screen. He clicked on the big screen, and a video quickly played on it. In the video, there are terrifying beasts one after another. Many of these beasts are level 5 beasts, and there are even more ferocious level 6 beasts, exuding an astonishing aura. The picture you see is the content of the national selection competition at this moment. These ferocious beasts are very terrifying. They appear from space cracks, also known as plane cracks. I don't know when these cracks were born. They appear in the sky, on the sea floor, or in other more hidden places. From these space cracks, powerful ferocious beasts will continuously emerge. They are the biggest hidden dangers and enemies of our human race. This time, the ferocious beasts you will face include many level 6 ferocious beasts that are comparable to the general level. This kind of ferocious beast is very dangerous. If you encounter it, you must run away without hesitation. When the three of them saw these scenes and heard what the Palace Master said, they were actually a little shocked. This assessment is too dangerous. Compared with the national selection competition, their Jiangnan Prefecture selection competition was just like playing house, it was too simple. This time, the news I got is that the more levels you pass, the higher your ranking will be. As far as I know, there is a high probability that there will be 8 levels in this level. This is a rule summarized from previous national selection competitions. The 3 of you must remember that you must overcome more levels at all costs and try to get a good ranking, because the higher the ranking, the better the rewards you will get. S-level martial arts, a large number of ferocious beast crystals, these are all available, but this is not the most important thing. If you can reach the top 5, you will be rewarded with the ferocious beast essence and blood of the top level 6 ferocious beasts. This kind of essence blood requires a strong person to refine it, which takes a lot of time and is very useful to you. If you can absorb it, it will improve your realm and combat power. After hearing these words, Murong Xingchen and Xuanyuan Hui's breathing became a little faster, and their eyes were shining. Even their families cannot give them these cultivation resources. Chen Fan also had glaring eyes, but he was only interested in the first among the top 5. As for these rewards, he also wants to get the best. The Lord of Dragon City then played a few more videos, which were videos of geniuses passing the national selection competitions in the past. Murong Xingchen and the others were shocked when they saw it. Because those peerless geniuses performed so well, they calmly escaped from a level 6 ferocious beast with outstanding style. After watching the video, the 3 of them got a general idea, and then Lord Zhongnan personally took them to the destination of the national selection competition. This national selection competition is scheduled to be held in the Fierce Beast Valley, which is about thousands of kilometers away from Zhongnan Prefecture. It takes about 6 hours to get there by high-speed rail. Not long after, everyone sat in the high-speed train, but all the carriages were reserved by the Lord of Zhongnan Palace. After a period of rushing, the high-speed train finally stopped and the destination was reached. Chen Fan and the others, led by Palace Master Zhongnan, arrived at the human base outside the Fierce Beast Valley. There are heavy troops guarding here, and of course there are peerless experts guarding it. On top of the base city wall, there is an old man sitting there. The old man has white hair and beard, but he exudes a vast power, like a world. The power of qi and blood in his body almost turned into a terrifying pillar of light, rising into the sky. Murong Xingchen and the others looked up at the base wall, feeling a little shocked. Because the old man was more powerful than anyone they had encountered, and he was probably not an ordinary town general. That person is one of the people in charge of this competition. He is a powerful man who has been granted a title. This person comes from the temple. Lord Zhongnan raised his head and looked at the powerful man above, his eyes full of awe. The temple is one of the 10 university palaces. It is the place that foreigners want to join the most. It is a place where human races merge. Countless strong men have been born in it, so there will be a large number of foreigners coming to participate in the national selection competition this time. Palace Master Zhongnan briefly explained. Murong Xingchen and the others nodded thoughtfully, but they didn't care. They believe that Chinese geniuses are definitely stronger than foreigners. At this moment, there was a whistling sound in the sky, and huge helicopters landed from the sky, landing at the airport not far away, blowing gusts of wind. The helicopter door opened, and the proud-looking geniuses slowly stepped out of the plane. The most conspicuous among them is a man wearing a golden dragon pattern robe. This man looks to be about 20 years old. The clothes he wears are like the clothes worn by ancient emperors, as if they were specially customized. There is a domineering look in his eyes, a feeling that he is the only one in the world and does not put anyone in his eyes. Behind him were dozens of geniuses, all of whom had flattering expressions. If not for anything else, it's because the young man in the dragon robe is one of the most famous and unique geniuses, the prince. He was arrogant and had an invincible aura about him, and he became the focus of the audience as soon as he appeared. Then his eyes glanced at Chen Fan, and a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. "You are the genius in Zhongnan Mansion, Chen Fan." The prince actually took the initiative to ask, but Chen Fan ignored him. "How presumptuous, what is your attitude when the prince asks you this?" A follower scolded Chen Fan. Chen Fan glanced at this man coldly, activated his martial arts eye, and combined with the power of artistic conception, directly burst out a mental attack. Buzz. At that moment, the follower felt that he saw a huge eye, with a feeling of indifference to everything, extremely cold, and filled with boundless chill. Puff. This follower was a great master, but at this moment he was vomiting blood and his eyes were full of shock. Just one blow actually injured him. I hate people talking loudly. Chen Fan said calmly, his aura restrained, like an ordinary person. The prince smiled slightly and said, it's interesting. No wonder Bei Lisheng and the others said they wanted to accept you as their followers. You do have some abilities. It's just that you have to give me an advantage first. The prince's body exuded an aura like a stormy sea, and the terrifying pressure spread, as if a powerful general was releasing pressure. Even the master of Zhongnan Palace's face changed slightly, showing a fearful expression. The real age of the prince in front of him must not be more than 20 years old, and he has already cultivated to the level of a half-step general. This speed of cultivation is really terrifying. Prince, this is the follower I like. At this critical moment, an equally powerful pressure was released, and a peerless genius was slowly approaching not far away. This prodigy also has an invincible power about him. The power of qi and blood in his body is not much weaker than that of the prince. There is a sword energy like the blazing sun behind him, looming. Mu Yun is back, he is also a peerless genius, and his appearance at this moment has attracted a lot of attention. You also want to accept him as a follower. The prince's aura was domineering, with a fierce light in his eyes. Mu Youngui was wearing a golden cloud-patterned robe, and his aura was sharp, as if it could cut through everything. I've already taken a liking to him. The two of them were tit for tat, and both wanted to accept Chen Fan as a follower. Ha ha ha, it's so lively, why not add me one more? A young man dressed in black walked slowly from not far away. He also had a domineering aura about him. He was also a half-step general, and Bei Lisheng came. He is the most outstanding genius of the Bili family. It is said that he once entered a ferocious beast training ground and killed hundreds of ferocious beasts. Among these ferocious beasts there are many level 5 ferocious beasts. Boring. Countless sword lights appeared in the sky, each sword light could split the void, and even give people the feeling that nothing could be broken. A young man with a cold face was also approaching here. He carried a sword on his back, and the sword light surrounding him made other geniuses dare not approach. He appeared in a different style from Bei Lisheng and others, and there were no followers behind him. Wuxin. Seeing this person Bei Lisheng, they showed a rare expression of fear, obviously not wanting to offend this peerless genius in front of them. The sword boy Wu Xin just glanced at Chen Fan when he passed by. His eyes were calm, but there was a look of disappointment on his face. It's a pity. If you are also a god-level talent and have mastered half-step to become a general, maybe we can have a smooth battle. He had no intention of recruiting Chen Fan as a follower, but instead took the lead and entered the human base alone. Chen Fan, be my follower. Another peerless genius stepped off the plane. This peerless genius was none other than Xuanyuan Honglang of the Xuanyuan family. He gave people the impression that he was like an impenetrable city wall. The power of artistic conception in the body is to protect the artistic conception. Chen Fan looked at these peerless geniuses and was about to release his coercion and suppress them all. Anyway, he had a vision of a divine body and his pressure increased tenfold, so he was not afraid of these peerless geniuses. But at this moment, a heavy palm was placed on his shoulder. Don't be impulsive. The person who spoke was the Lord of Zhongnan Palace, and he glanced at the wall of the base, as if to remind Chen Fan. At this time, Chen Fan looked towards the city wall again, only to find that the strong man on the other side had disappeared. When he reappeared, he was not far away from them. A more domineering pressure instantly defeated the auras of the 4 peerless geniuses, forcing these 4 peerless geniuses to restrain their auras. This is the human base, not a place you can give up. The old man spoke, his voice majestic, with a tone that could not be refused. I am Tian Yuan, one of the chief assessors for this national selection competition. I come from the temple. Please be honest with me before the selection process ends, otherwise don't blame me for disqualifying you. Tianyuan speaks more domineeringly than the 4 geniuses, and his eyes are like endless abyss, releasing an astonishing pressure that makes people's scalp numb. Snort. These peerless geniuses snorted coldly, obviously not taking Tian Yuan's words to heart. He is just a powerful man who has been granted a title. He just practiced for a while before them and became a chief assessor. Do you really think he is great? Sooner or later we have to get back to where we are today. At this time, the Lord of Tianhe Province, the Lord of Xingyu Province, and the Lord of Kyoto Province all appeared one after another and promised Tianyuan that they would not cause trouble again. This brought the matter to an end for the time being. Chen Fan secretly thought that it was a pity, otherwise it would have been better to eliminate all these outstanding talents before entering the selection competition. But since the examiner has spoken, he will not disobey the other party's wishes. After all, he is the chief assessor, so he has to give the other party some face. Chen Fan successfully entered the human base. The area inside was very vast and already accommodated thousands of people, but it still seemed empty. You can rest freely here first. Later, the chief examiner will order someone to take you into the Valley of Fierce Beasts. I will leave first. After Zhongnan Palace Master entered this place, he separated from them and went to where he should go. Watching Zhongnan Palace Master go away, Chen Fan and the others were also preparing to find a place to rest. There is a free lounge with food, massage machines, TVs, etc. Chen Fan found a massage chair and sat down, drank a few more drinks, basked in the bright sunshine, and felt that his mood had improved a lot. Ding! Energy plus 40. The top of the lounge where he was like a panoramic skylight, all made of glass, so the sun's rays would be refracted. China is becoming more and more useless. I heard that in one of their provinces, even a useless person with seemingly ordinary talent can take first place. While enjoying the sunshine, Chen Fan suddenly heard someone chatting in broken Chinese next to him. It was a group of black and white people with all white or all black skin. Some white people even had blonde hair. A few of them were resting and chatting. Of course, this group of people is led by a blonde white man. These foreigners are really blind, like a frog in a well. Murong Xingchen, who was sitting next to Chen Fan and resting, smiled coldly. If Chen Fan really had an ordinary talent, how could he be defeated so easily? Chen Fan didn't want to explain too much to them. If he met them in the assessment later, he wouldn't mind beating these foreigners until they knelt down and begged for mercy. Edward, I heard that you broke through from an extreme master before. At this time, another group of foreigners came from not far away. The leader was a dark-skinned black man, about 2 meters tall and burly. He looked very mature, and his muscles were like tangled muscles. Like a tree root, when I first saw him, it was easy to think of the word muscular man. So what if it is? So what if it's not? Edward didn't really want to answer the black man's question. Your temper is just as bad as the rumors say. The black man's name is Li Da, and his aura is extremely powerful, not weaker than the peerless talent Chen Fan saw just now. But now, he has heard something new, which is the ultimate master. Extreme Grandmaster. I never thought this Edward could be so powerful. Ultimate Grandmaster. That's only when the Grandmaster's combat power reaches 5 million. It can no longer be forcibly improved. If you break through to a Grandmaster, your combat power can directly exceed 10 million. The black people behind the Black Li Da began to talk about it. They didn't know at first that Edward was the ultimate master who broke through. Chen Fan looked a little weird. Is 5 million combat power the limit? Murong Xingchen and Xuanyuan Wei secretly set a goal in their hearts to reach 5 million combat power before the Grandmaster. Stupid guy. Edward, the blonde man, looked at the black men with contempt in his eyes. A true extreme master is one who can reach 8 million combat power and absorb level 4 ferocious beast crystals. He can no longer improve. He must break through forcefully and step into the realm of a Grand Master. This is the true extreme master. The black people were a little angry at first, but after listening to Edward's words, they realized that they were short-sighted. They didn't expect that the real ultimate master could be so terrifying. If we want to become a true ultimate master, it is simply impossible to achieve it with our low-grade god-level talents, unless we have the top god-level talents. God-level talents are also divided into levels and are divided into 4 levels. They are the top god level, the upper level god level, the middle level god level and the lower level god level. Top god level talents are rare to find in 1,000 years. Top grade god level talents are hard to find in a century. Therefore, most of the peerless geniuses have mid-level god level talents and low-level god level talents. The black man Li Da felt that talking about a real ultimate master was too far away. Without that kind of invincible talent, it would be impossible to achieve such abnormal combat power in the Master Realm. When Chen Fan heard what these foreigners said, he suddenly understood. No wonder he had a feeling in his heart after absorbing 2 level 4 ferocious beast crystals that ordinary level 4 crystals would not be of much use to him, and the improvement would probably be very small. That's why he stayed at home for 20 days and did not take the initiative to hunt the level 4 ferocious beasts. As for level 5 ferocious beasts, or even stronger ferocious beasts, a permit is required to enter such a place, and it must be approved by the Master of Zhongnan Palace. During this critical period, the Lord of Zhongnan Palace would most likely not let him hunt ferocious beasts alone, so he chose to bask in the sun at home. But things are different now. The Lord of Zhongnan Palace told them that there were a large number of powerful ferocious beasts during the assessment, and the crystals in those ferocious beasts would definitely become an important resource for him to improve his cultivation. Now Chen Fan is even a little impatient. As for the 8 million ultimate combat power Grandmaster being the pinnacle of Grandmasters, who stipulated this? Chen Fan felt that he could break the setting of this extreme master and create a new upper limit. If you continue to improve like this, your 10th level of Grandmaster should be able to reach a basic combat power of tens of millions. Dang dang dang. At this moment, there was a sound of bells. Many geniuses stood up one after another and saw the chief assessor Tian Yuan appearing on a high platform. His eyes were majestic. He scanned below and began to announce the assessment rules. You must have heard about the assessment rules from the mouths of the major provincial leaders. That's right, this year's assessment rules are the same as those of previous years. There are 8 levels in total, and there are a large number of ferocious beasts in each level. You need to keep killing ferocious beasts to pass levels to determine your ranking. I can tell you that the weakest beasts in the first level are all level 4 beasts. As the levels become more difficult, the levels of the beasts will get higher and higher. Of course you can also team up to pass the level, but the performance points you get will be halved. The more people you have, the more points you will get. The rankings in this national selection will be finalized based on your performance points. When all the geniuses heard the chief examiner's words, their eyes lit up. Okay, the introduction is over and the assessment has officially started. After announcing these words, Tian Yuan left the high platform, and soon a large number of men and women appeared. They were also assessors, responsible for bringing the thousands of geniuses present to the assessment site. Everyone lined up one after another and came to a gate. Above this gate, there was a kind of spatial power, which was obviously a specially built passage. If you enter from here, you will enter the level where you will be assessed. 100 people can enter at a time. If you cannot hold on any longer, call for help immediately. I want to solemnly warn you. Each of you must sign a contract before entering. If you fall into the checkpoint, we will not bear any responsibility. These examiners took out some papers with a large number of agreements written on them. Only after signing the agreement can they enter the examination. These geniuses looked at what was written on the paper, and some of them looked ugly. What a broken contract. There is a death indicator. I won't sign this, it will break the game. Some geniuses simply threw the contract on the ground and left the place, and the examiner did not stop them. After all, he can understand that some people are timid. Because this kind of level is too dangerous, without any means of protection, it all depends on the geniuses' own strength and luck. At least 40% of the talents who die in the national selection competition every year. There are a lot of geniuses here, but there are also a lot of foreigners. After all, some of the 36 provinces are inhabited by foreigners. They are places where human races merge and are similar in nature to the temple. In the eyes of the strong men of the human race, only those who have truly experienced the baptism of death can become truly strong. Flowers in a greenhouse will never grow. Some people voluntarily abstained, and there were only 900 geniuses left on the scene. There was no fear in their eyes. Chen Fan signed his name without hesitation, wanting to be among the first to enter. Okay, now that you have signed the contract, let's start going in. Next, the person whose name I'm reporting comes forward. Prince Zhang Yu. The last one is Chen Fan. This was the first batch of lists, and Chen Fan entered the passage smoothly. But when he entered the passage and felt a wave of space fluctuations, he saw many small passages, hundreds of them. You can choose one of the passages to go in. I have to receive the people behind. The examiner gave a brief explanation and then left alone. There are a lot of surveillance cameras in these channels, and the videos will be sent directly to the chief examiner. Many geniuses entered one after another, but no one wanted to form a team, and no one was willing to get their performance points halved. Chen Fan chose channel 100. When entering this passage, a desert appeared in front of Chen Fan, an endless desert. Black scorpions emerged from under the desert land, staring at him with fierce eyes. One of the black scorpions has reached the level of a great master. You must know that this is only the first level. It is difficult to imagine how terrifying the subsequent levels are. Let you be the nourishment for my improvement. The power of qi and blood in Chen Fan exploded, his eyes became ferocious, and he stepped on the ground, causing dust to fly on the ground. The fist in Chen Fan's hand erupted into terrifying flames, and the violent power of the flames swept across the entire place, like a stormy sea, instantly wiping out all the ferocious beasts in front of him. Even a ferocious beast comparable to the first level of a Grandmaster was reduced to ashes without even being able to struggle. A large number of ferocious beast crystals fell from the ground, and Chen Fan took them all into his pocket. He tried to refine a fourth-level crystal, but the energy and blood power in his body hardly changed, only increased a little. This made Chen Fan couldn't help but sigh. It seems that the remaining level 4 crystals can only be sold. As for the 5th level ferocious beast crystals, Chen Fan began to absorb them, and a few breathing crystals became dimmed. Then Chen Fan's realm easily entered the 8th level of the Grandmaster. The combat power has increased again. Chen Fan estimates that the basic combat power has reached 9 million, which is higher than the previous level of combat power. This is really my blessed place. After killing these ferocious beasts, a black hole that looked as dark as an abyss appeared in front of Chen Fan. This should be the passage to the next level. Chen Fan stepped into it and disappeared. In a huge office, there are several hundreds of inches of screens with extremely high definition, playing the scenes in each channel. There are 5 throne-like seats here, with a figure sitting on them. The Lord of Zhongnan Palace and the others are also here, but they can only sit on the chairs next to them. The people sitting on the 5 throne seats are all in the feudal realm, and each of them exudes a kind of vast power, which is intimidating. Looking from a distance, it's like looking at the 5 blazing suns. The power of the strong qi and blood seems to be able to easily destroy the world. One of them is Temple Tianyuan, who is one of the chief assessors. As for the man sitting next to him, he was a man with broken hair. The man looked very young, but about 30 years old. He looked drowsy and seemed to be unable to cheer up anything. But no one dares to underestimate this lazy-looking man, because he is also a strong man from the Tianyang Palace, one of the 10 academic palaces, and has unlimited potential. Although everyone present is in the realm of feudal lords, he is the youngest, and he is very likely to be crowned king in the future. And his name is Feng Wuji. At this moment, the first thing that appeared on the screen was the picture of 5 channels, and among the pictures of these 5 channels were 5 terrifying geniuses. They passed the first level easily. Even the ferocious beasts at the first level of Grandmaster cannot stop their progress at all. They were so powerful that they easily killed them with just a few movements of their hands. It didn't look like they were taking an exam at all, it was like they were playing house. They looked too easy and there was no difficulty at all. This made the feudal lords and generals who were watching the battle couldn't help but nod. The talents of these 5 geniuses are truly amazing. It is said that there are a few foreigners with good talents. Let's check the surveillance system. How come Edward and Li Da haven't passed the first level yet? It doesn't look like they can do it. Everyone was talking a lot, and when they saw the foreigners, some generals were discussing with sneers in their eyes. The foreign provinces often brag about how powerful their geniuses are, but this is the result. Tianyuan opened and closed his eyes and said, "They just lack the means to attack in groups. The next levels will be much easier." He has long taken a fancy to Edward and Li Da. Their strength is actually not weaker than that of the 5 geniuses, and they are worthy of getting 2 places to enter their temple. Feng Wuji yawned, feeling uninterested. He actually didn't want to be one of the chief assessors. Because in the provinces assigned to him to rule, it is difficult for a genius to emerge every year, and I am afraid there will not be too many exceptions this year. As for the first 30, he had never thought about it in his heart. It was almost impossible. The scene was quickly switched. In the video, everyone saw a genius being torn apart alive by a ferocious beast and swallowed on the spot. The scene was extremely bloody. But in the eyes of these big shots, they didn't have any trouble. Sooner or later, the true genius will have to go to the battlefield to fight with more powerful beasts. This is what they will experience sooner or later. In this assessment, even death is considered normal. Those are the geniuses from our western province. A town general sighed, watching helplessly in the picture. Several geniuses he brought personally died in the mouth of the ferocious beast, and his heart was filled with pain. But there is nothing we can do about it. If you want to become stronger and become a top expert, you must experience this kind of real life and death struggle. Then new geniuses entered these passages. After another half an hour, the screen quickly shifted to channel 100. In this channel, there was a very sunny-looking young man with sharp eyes, wandering around the second level, seemingly searching for something. Chen Fan, what is he doing? The master of Zhongnan Palace was stunned on the spot, wondering what Chen Fan was doing. He had high hopes for Chen Fan, but those top geniuses may have reached the third level now, but Chen Fan was still at the second level. He looked a little ugly and held the cup in his hand tightly with his hand. Crack. Because of excessive force, the cup was crushed by him. At this time, he suddenly came back to his senses and found countless pairs of eyes around him staring at him. He gave an apologetic smile. He felt that Chen Fan's performance really disappointed him. Although it was better than Murong Xingchen and the others, at least they had reached the second level, but this was not what he expected. Logically speaking, Chen Fan should be able to reach the fourth level now after awakening the power of artistic conception. No, he should be able to achieve better results, but something is delaying him now. Palace Master Zhongnan comforted himself, but he still believed in his heart that Chen Fan should be able to reach the top 30. At the same time, in passage 100, Chen Fan slowly came to a ferocious beast. The beast's eyes were full of fear. It was hard to imagine what he had done to make a level 5 ferocious beast show such a fearful expression. You run so fast. Chen Fan looked at a huge strange bird with pure white feathers in front of him. Flames emerged from his fists. The surrounding temperature was burning, and the hot air flow distorted the surrounding air. Quack! This strange bird spreads its wings and is about to fly, but Chen Fan will not let him escape now. He punched out, the surrounding air shook, and a terrifying air flow flew out like a cannonball, accompanied by blazing golden flames. With just one breath, this huge strange bird didn't even have a hair left, and a crystal of the ferocious beast dropped from its finger. Chen Fan took the ferocious beast crystal and refined it on the spot. His combat power increased again, but he did not break through to the realm. There was still one piece left to break through to the 9th level of the Grandmaster. Originally, he could have killed this strange bird long ago, but this beast was too vigilant and flew away when it saw something was wrong, just like a loach. In addition, there were a large number of level 4 ferocious beasts that kept rushing towards him and blocking his steps, so it took a while. Now it's time to enter the third level. I hope you don't encounter such a speedy beast, otherwise it will really waste your time. Continue to move forward and enter the third level. On the other side, everyone was looking at the boy with thunder wrapped around his body on the number 1 channel, who had already reached the 4th level. There were many tiny blue electric lights flowing around the boy's body, and he looked like a superhero from a science fiction movie. A large number of thunders exuded a violent aura, and a large number of ferocious beasts approached him, covered with explosive hair, and their eyes were full of fear. You garbage beasts shouldn't live here, you all should die. This person was the Peerless Prince. He held his hand forward, and tiny electric light burst out from his hand, condensing into a huge thunder palm in the sky and slapping it downwards. Boom! As if the sky was shattering and the earth was shattering, a large number of ferocious beasts were reduced to ashes under this move. But at this moment, a roar came from among the ferocious beasts. Roar! A huge ferocious beast appeared. This ferocious beast was extremely weird. It had a crocodile head. It stood upright, with muscles all over its body. Its eyes were scarlet, exuding a dangerous luster. As the Grandmaster in the later stage, the prince felt the dangerous aura exuding from this ferocious beast, but his eyes were indifferent. It's a pity that they all have to surrender to my thunder. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, brilliant thunder erupted, and a ferocious beast from the late Grandmaster stage was reduced to ashes under the violent bombardment of several thunderbolts. After getting rid of this ferocious beast, the prince entered the 5th level. He came here just to win the National Selection Championship, so naturally he couldn't stop here. This prince is really too strong. Why did Xingyu province produce such a freak? It's too scary. Killing a late-stage Grandmaster beast is just like killing an ant. In the office, many town generals were discussing and looking at a middle-aged man with envy. The middle-aged man was smiling, his face was red, and his eyes were filled with triumph. And he is the lord of Xingyu province. In the past, their provincial genius could only break into the top 20, which was already the limit, but now that it is possible to take the first place, he is naturally very happy. And he understood that the prince's real strength was more than that. He would always remember the astonishing scene when the prince broke through the Grandmaster. The prince is the true ultimate master. Although he is only a god-level mid-level talent, his combat power when he was a master reached an astonishing 6.5 million. After breaking through the Grandmaster, it reached an astonishing 13 million, which is almost close to some ordinary generals. Now he couldn't even see through the prince. Perhaps the true combat power of this genius was close to that of a veteran general like him. Although he knew that except for the prince, the other peerless geniuses were not weak, but he believed that the prince could crush them all and reach the top of the championship. Look, a provincial governor suddenly exclaimed, and everyone's eyes instantly focused on a screen. It was a cold-blooded young man with a long knife on his back, and a murderous aura about him. This man had also reached the 4th level. This is unintentional. His speed is slower than the prince's. One of the town generals had just finished speaking, and his eyes suddenly shrank violently, and his heart was shaking. Even he, the general, was shocked. On the screen, the terrifying ferocious beast was just stared at by Wu Xin, and then there was an invisible sword light, which tore the ferocious beast into pieces and cut it into countless small pieces. The invisible sword light gave everyone a chill in their hearts. Even the general frowned and was shocked. Including several powerful feudal lords, they all stared at the screen with shocked expressions in their eyes. This is the 2nd stage of the power of artistic conception. Feng Wuji's heart trembled violently. He naturally understood how terrifying this talent was. The power of artistic conception is divided into 6 stages in total. The 2nd stage of awakening is enough to kill ordinary generals with half a step. The geniuses of this class are even better than those of the previous class. Tian Yuan couldn't help but comment. He even wanted Wu Xin to join the temple. This is definitely the core candidate for the immortal seed, with unlimited potential. It is hard to imagine where he will go in the future. As for the other peerless talents, they are not so dazzling. Most of them have just passed the 3rd level. Therefore, the ones who received the most attention were Prince Edward and Wu Xin. Among the many screens, there were 2 screens that kept playing the scenes in their passage. Another person has passed the 4th level, it's Mu Yonghui. Bei Lisheng and Xuanyuan Honglang also passed. Edward and Li Da are currently at level 3. This is the peerless genius that they focus on. These people have almost reached the half-step general level. The first 4 levels are actually not too difficult for them. The most critical thing is the later levels. In level 5, there is a half-step general level ferocious beast, which is not so easy to solve. Feng Wuji felt very unhappy when he saw those peerless geniuses succeeding all the way. The provinces under his control invested so many cultivation resources every year, but none of them came out outstanding. No one has reached level 3 now. Master of Jiangnan Palace, Master of Southern Province, Master of Western Province, what kind of rubbish are you cultivating? The human race is currently in a difficult situation. Is it just for you to squander the cultivation resources I gave you so casually? What are they doing to eat? Quote, Feng Wuji was particularly unhappy, because in such a comparison, it seemed as if all the geniuses he had here were trash. He could even feel that some people were secretly laughing at him, but because of his identity, he did not dare to laugh directly. Jiangnan Palace Master and the others bowed their heads one after another. Although they were generals, in front of Feng Wuji, they were like children who had done something wrong, not daring to say a word in rebuttal. At this time, only the master of Jiangnan Palace mustered up the courage to say, Sir, our Jiangnan Palace has a genius this year. There may be something delayed now. I think he should be able to break into the top 30. When Feng Wuji heard these words, he immediately became interested and said, "Who are you talking about?" Chen Fan. Lord Zhongnan raised his head. "Add me the scene in channel 100. As soon as Feng Wuji's order was given, a staff member hurriedly converted the video. Beast passage number 100. Chen Fan killed a 5th level ferocious beast and refined it. His cultivation level was successfully promoted to the 9th level of the Grandmaster. The power of qi and blood in his body soared into the sky at this moment. He felt that his whole body was extremely hot, like a burning iron, and it was as if some shackles had been opened in his body. His combat power successfully reached 10 million, which was a bit beyond his expectation. He originally thought that he would only be able to achieve this level of combat power after attaining the 10th level of Grandmaster. But now he has reached it ahead of schedule. He feels that some kind of shackles in his body are unlocked at this moment. His body is ethereal and his thoughts are clear. Even his understanding seemed to have increased, and every brain cell in his mind was running rapidly. He felt that the two powers he controlled, the Eye of Martial Arts and the Destruction Fist, seemed to be unlocking more powerful powers. Ding! Congratulations to the host for unlocking the second stage of the Destruction Fist, which will form a 5-meter special area to imprison the opponent, and the power of destruction will continue to cause damage. Ding! Congratulations to the host for unlocking the second stage of the Martial Arts Eye, doubling his mental power and gaining penetrating power. The power of penetration will cover all martial arts practiced by the host, ignoring 40% of the defense. When Chen Fan heard the prompt inside his body, he was startled for a moment, and then a smile appeared on his face. He also just learned that the Eye of Martial Arts and the Destruction Fist intent actually have a second stage. Are there more stages after that? No wonder he always felt that these two powers were far from reaching their upper limit. With the second stage, Destruction Fist intent, you are no longer afraid of speed-type opponents. You can directly imprison the opponent, and then cooperate with the martial arts eye to burst out with penetrating power. No matter how high the defense is, you will have to kneel down. Then someone who has awakened to protect the artistic conception will be defeated if he meets me. Chen Fan smiled and felt extremely comfortable. At this time, the roars of fierce beasts sounded, gradually approaching here. Chen Fan then remembered that there seemed to be 3 ferocious beasts in the middle stage of Grandmaster in the 3rd level. He had just killed one, and where were the 2 ferocious beast crystals left? Chen Fan's eyes glowed with blazing light, his figure disappeared from the spot, and he pounced on the 2 ferocious beasts in the middle stage of the Grandmaster, and the power of destruction filled the air. Office. Feng Wuji saw Chen Fan sitting there in passage 100, not knowing what he was doing. After a while, he opened his eyes again, with a happy smile on his face, and then looked at the many ferocious beasts. When he saw this scene, his face was very unhappy. Other geniuses are speeding through the level, what kind of plane is Chen Fan doing? What you do is inexplicable. He felt a little irritable, and looked at the other geniuses. They were also not outstanding at all. They were even stuck at level 2 and had a hard time passing it. It looked like he didn't know whether he could pass it. Although Chen Fan is currently at level 3, it seems that he is stuck and does not dare to kill those ferocious beasts directly. There is a high probability that he will be out of luck. Otherwise, I'm afraid I would just rush up and be gone in seconds. Why stay there in a daze for so long? Feng Wuji shook his head, his face full of disappointment, but more of an anger. This made him look a little disgusted when he looked at Zhongnan Palace Master and the others. A bunch of frogs in the well think that reaching the 3rd level is considered a genius. Zhongnan Palace Master's face was originally full of doubts, but when he saw Chen Fan taking the initiative to rush towards the 2 Grandmaster level ferocious beasts, a smile appeared on his face. It's finally time to take action. With the Destruction Fist intent, I should be able to kill him successfully, but my level is too low, so I'm afraid it will take a lot of effort. But the next moment, he saw the 2 powerful level 5 ferocious beasts, wrapped in a special force. Their bodies were as brittle as tissue paper and turned into ashes in an instant. At this moment, he was extremely excited and exclaimed, "Sir, look! Look at the scene in channel 100. Chen Fan." Hearing the exclamation, even Tianyuan and the others couldn't help but look at the screen of channel 100. They wanted to see what could be so shocking. Office. Feng Wuji's heart was filled with ups and downs. At this moment, his face showed an extremely exaggerated expression. He felt that his thinking had become disordered, and he even felt that the scenes he saw in front of him were a little false and illusory. Originally, it was impossible for a big man like him to show such an expression, but what did he see? The point was not that the young man inside killed the ferocious beast, but the method he used, which made him feel numb and even felt that it was too outrageous. In the video, what is shown is that the two level 5 ferocious beasts did not even move. They stood on the same spot and were covered by the light of the fist. The flames rolled above the fist, like a roaring fire dragon, spreading its teeth and claws, tearing through the void. The two level 5 ferocious beasts were reduced to ashes, looking as if they were stupid. But people who have reached his level can see the clues. It's not that these two level 5 ferocious beasts don't want to move, but that they can't move. Just like the peerless genius Wu Xin just now, his opponent had no resistance at all and was easily killed by him. Did he understand the second stage of the destruction fist? Temple Tianyuan touched his chin with a look of thought. The other powerful men in the feudal realm also saw the clues and were frightened. If a great master can understand it, it is still within the scope of their understanding. But the boy in the video doesn't have any of the characteristics of a great master. What is a great master? That is the realm above the master. After the breakthrough, the intensity of the true energy will far exceed that of the master, and the muscles and bones of the whole body will also be baptized. It can be said to be a sublimation. By the strength of the qi, you can tell the difference between a Grandmaster and a Grandmaster. The most notable thing about the Grandmaster's qi is that it is thick, dozens of times more than that of the average Grandmaster. If the true energy of a Grandmaster is like small streams, then the true energy of a great master is equivalent to a big river. Although Chen Fan's junqi looks thick, it is only 10 times thicker than that of an ordinary Grandmaster, and cannot reach the level of a great master. Quick, hurry up and play back the video of Chen Fan's clearance. A powerful feudal lord reacted and ordered the staff to adjust the video quickly. The staff was also stunned. After coming back to their senses, they were in a hurry. After a while of operations, they finally played the previous video. The young man in the video only used one move to kill any murderer without using any extra force. It looks like flowing clouds and flowing water, like an antelope hanging its horns. It can be said that the control over itself has reached the extreme. Show me Chen Fan's information. Feng Wuji couldn't wait to know what kind of genius this Chen Fan was. Why doesn't he seem to know much? He changed his usual casual attitude, his expression was stern, and his eyes like a falcon quickly locked on the tablet handed over by the master of Zhongnan Palace. There is information introducing Chen Fan on it. Name: Chen Fan. Talent: ordinary fire talent cannot be determined now, possible detection error, suspected to be a saint-level talent. Family: ordinary family. Understand the power of artistic conception, the intention of the fist of destruction. Quote. There are also height, weight, etc., but Feng Wuji has not looked at these in detail because he really can't figure out how such an ordinary family could give birth to a genius like Chen Fan. It is completely unreasonable. Feng Wuji, this Chen Fan is good. Our temple has taken a fancy to him. Why don't we let him join the temple? I ask you to mention it as you like. Temple Tianyuan directly stated that they wanted to admit Chen Fan into their academy. In his opinion, Feng Wuji didn't pay much attention to this genius named Chen Fan, and he didn't even seem to know that the other person understood the artistic conception of destruction. If a genius like this came to Tianyang Palace, he would probably be buried, so he might as well come to the temple. Go to sleep, there is everything in your dreams. Feng Wuji looked sarcastic, thinking that Tianyuan was sick. It took such a long time for such a genius to appear, how could he give it up to others? Could it be that he is a big fool? At this time, the video of Chen Fan's clearance was still playing on the screen, over and over again, but everyone found it incredible when they saw it. A Grandmaster seems to be a little too powerful, killing ferocious beasts even faster than some half-step generals. The martial arts he used seems to be the perfect level of Shengyang fist. This Chen Fan must be from a big family. He has been trained since he was young and has a backer behind him. Many town generals were talking about it, but none of them knew that Chen Fan was an ordinary civilian. Of course, the one who was most shocked was the master of Zhongnan Palace. He personally gave this martial arts book to Chen Fan. Is this speed of cultivation too exaggerated? It took more than a month to practice A-level martial arts to perfection. He felt that compared to Chen Fan, he was like a waste, really lame. This kind of peerless genius really can't compare with them, otherwise I'm afraid I'll get sick from anger. Master Zhongnan, it seems that you have secretly cultivated a peerless genius, and we don't know about it yet. Province Master Xingyu came over and said with a smile. But to Palace Master Zhongnan, this was just a fake smile, which made him feel a little uncomfortable. Nowhere, compared to the prince, he is still far behind. The Lord of Zhongnan Palace said this on the surface, but he sneered in his heart, feeling that Chen Fan was not weaker than the prince, but just at a disadvantage in terms of realm. When he reaches a higher level in the future, he may not be able to knock the prince to the ground and beat him violently. Lord Xingyu was just about to show a proud expression when Feng Wuji said something, but he was stunned on the spot. What can't be compared to the prince? You have to be humble when you shouldn't be humble. This prince is far worse than Chen Fan. When Feng Wuji said this, he said it in a calm tone, without any contempt or disdain, as if he was telling a fact. He recalled the killing move that Chen Fan had just performed, which easily penetrated the defense of the two level 5 ferocious beasts. Now he even had some doubts that Chen Fan had understood that kind of power. That can only be mastered by strong men above the king, but now it is just a suspicion and cannot be confirmed. But once it is confirmed, it means that Chen Fan's talent is well deserved to be number 1 in this class. Although the realm is weak, this is not a big problem. As long as you join their Tianyang Palace and train them as hard as you can, you will soon be able to truly grow up. The Xingyu province lord looked ugly, but he didn't know what to say. After all, there was a gap in identity between him and the other party. Lord Tianhe was originally extremely confident in his family's genius, but when he saw Chen Fan suddenly showing his talent, he also felt a sense of crisis. This Chen Fan is definitely a dark horse, he is really well hidden, and he even said that he just understood the meaning of the destruction fist. Not long after you just realized it, is it suspected that you have reached the second stage. This is obviously completely unreasonable. But fortunately, the level of this peerless genius is relatively low, otherwise Wuxin might not be his opponent. The Lord of Tianhe province secretly rejoiced. Wu Xin's biggest competitor now should be the prince, a half-step general level peerless talent. After Xingyu province lord thought about it carefully, he felt that Chen Fan was not a threat for the time being, at least he could not shake the crown prince's ranking. Thinking of this, he felt a lot more comfortable. There are so many dark horses in China. However, in this ranking, we still have a big move to break out. When we make the final sprint, it will definitely surprise you. Lord Loki is a foreigner with blonde hair and blue eyes. He looks to be in his 50s, with a skinny figure and a sinister look when he smiles. The province where he is located is not large, not even as big as Zhongnan Prefecture, but because the temple has given them a lot of training resources, some amazing geniuses have emerged. Edward and Li Da were both from Loki province, and they were the two most talented people he valued most. He also got the most important news. This time the 10 university palaces were going to cultivate immortal seeds, so this performance would determine the upper limit for the future. Therefore, every genius will try his best to win the championship. The outside world, Star City. In a large room, there is a large screen, and City Lord Long and Principal Wang are sitting here. Looking at the picture played on the big screen, my eyes were excited. And the picture they saw was exactly what was broadcast during the national selection competition. The rules of the national selection competition have not changed over the years, but even if you know the rules, you cannot prepare in advance. Those ferocious beasts are not fixed. They may be speed type or strength type. Moreover, you cannot pass the level unless you reach a certain level of strength. If he were an ordinary Grandmaster, he would be eliminated directly in the first level. Several scenes were played in the video, some from the prince and others, and some from Wu Xin. Of course, the one that the Lord of Dragon City paid the most attention to was Chen Fan. And besides them, most people in Jinling are also paying attention, including Feng Chengtian and the others. Zhong Lin was also watching the TV at home, wanting to see how far Chen Fan could go. But when she watched the video of the national selection competition, the shock in her heart was like a stormy sea, like countless huge waves, constantly rushing towards her, as if she was about to be swallowed up by the huge waves the next moment. She thought that Chen Fan would be at the bottom in Zhongnan Mansion's competition, but her belief was broken again and again. Sejong Lin didn't dare to comment easily now, but when he saw Chen Fan wandering around the second level in the video, she was still a little disappointed in her heart. Although she felt that Chen Fan was indeed a monster, compared with those monsters in the national selection competition, he seemed to be far behind. Because of this national selection competition, everyone knows that there are several half-step generals among those participating. It is simply unimaginable that young people can cultivate to such a terrifying state. It's a pity, I probably realized that I'm not strong enough. Zhong Lin opened her mouth to comment, but as soon as she finished speaking, she quickly covered her mouth, looked around, and then breathed a sigh of relief. The old habit relapses. I like to comment on such talented people, and I may get slapped in the face in the end. But fortunately, no one heard it, otherwise, wouldn't this have offended Chen Fan again for no reason? However, she still feels in her heart that although Chen Fan's cultivation is not bad now, he has reached the realm of Grandmaster, and his current strength even surpasses that of the city lord, but in a place where there are so many talented people, it is too difficult to get a good ranking. Thinking of this, she actually felt a little regretful in her heart. City Lord Long and Principal Wang were actually very satisfied when they saw Chen Fan's performance. In the first level, there are ferocious beasts at the Grandmaster level. Like them, they can only be killed instantly. However, Chen Fan instantly killed this ferocious beast in the first level and successfully entered the second level. Chen Fan is indeed the most evil genius born in number 1 middle school for 100 years. Principal Wang took a sip of hot water from the thermos cup with a smile on his face. Dragon City Lord nodded in agreement and said, "The future is huge, and I don't know how far it will be achieved in the future." They actually didn't care whether Chen Fan could place in the national selection competition. Because even if Chen Fan doesn't get a ranking, he can still reach a very high level, and may even be crowned king. This is something they never dared to think about before. After all, their small place, Star City, is only one of the 36 cities under Jinling's rule. Channel 1. The prince looked in front of him, and saw a huge ferocious beast that was several buildings high. It exuded a violent aura, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. This ferocious beast is also accompanied by a strong stench and the smell of blood. This is the pinnacle of the 5th level ferocious beasts, comparable to the ferocious beasts at the half-step general level. This ferocious beast had a lot of black hair on its body and looked like a black diamond. It bared its teeth and let out a roar. The eyes of the ferocious beast were full of contempt, because most of the humans who came here were killed by him, and only a few were able to escape. He believed that the person in front of him would only become his meal. Boom! The next moment, tiny yet brilliant thunders burst out, one after another, like a meteor shower, blooming with an astonishing aura. The void kept exploding, and countless thunderbolts headed towards the ferocious beast. Humans. This devil-eyed chimpanzee burst out with even more violent demonic energy, frantically resisting the power of thunder, and fought with the prince. One person and one ferocious beast exploded with such power that the place roared, as if it was about to be destroyed. I don't know how long it took, but a figure surrounded by thunderbolts slowly walked out, and a huge ferocious beast fell in a pool of blood. And the figure surrounded by thunder was tall, like a demon god, with endless indifference in his eyes, and his gaze seemed to be able to kill ferocious beasts. The prince successfully passed level 5. Lord Xingyu, who paid the most attention to the prince, nodded repeatedly when he saw the prince's performance, with a look of satisfaction in his eyes. This performance is indeed very good, killing a half-step general level ferocious beast so fast. But he found that the eyes of the people around him were not focused on the prince, but on the scene in aisle 100. Because in everyone's eyes, there is no doubt about the prince's strength and he is the favorite to win the championship. Wu Xin and the others, along with a group of peerless geniuses, also passed the 5th level one after another. But what they were more curious about was how far Chen Fan, the dark horse, could reach. Is it level 4 or level 5? In the eyes of most generals, this should be Chen Fan's limit. After all, that's where the realm lies. How powerful can a Grandmaster be? Is it possible that with the body of a Grandmaster, he can kill the ferocious beast of the 7th level general? When everyone thought of this, they all shook their heads consciously, thinking that this idea was extremely ridiculous. But there was only one person. When he looked at Chen Fan, his eyes were filled with a lot of doubts, and even a hint of expectation. He is Feng Wuji, and now he particularly wants to confirm whether Chen Fan has comprehended that kind of power. After all, he couldn't be completely sure just from the scene played in one video. At this moment, Chen Fan came to the 4th level. There were also a large number of ferocious beasts in this level. Of course, the most terrifying one was a giant wolf covered in white. This giant wolf carried a chill, and with every step it took, a layer of frost condensed on the ground. The beast's fur was shiny, and every hair was as pure white as snow. Even the eyes of this ferocious beast were icy blue. Level 5 ferocious beast, Snow Wolf King. Chen Fan recognized this ferocious beast at a glance. It was an overlord among the 5th level ferocious beasts, and it was also a ferocious beast comparable to the later stage of the Grandmaster. If Chen Fan had not broken through to the Grandmaster, he might have had to go all out to face this ferocious beast. But now, seeing the Snow Wolf King, Chen Fan only had peace in his eyes. His basic combat power reached tens of millions, and he remembered that the highest combat power the Snow Wolf King could unleash was around 16 million. Although it surpassed the basic combat power of ordinary generals, it was the result of the Snow Wolf King's full strength. When the human town general encounters the Snow Wolf King, once he uses his martial arts, he can easily explode with a power of over 30 million and kill him instantly. Snow Wolf King, please be the nourishment for me to break through to the 10th level of Grandmaster. As soon as he finished speaking, Chen Fan disappeared from the spot. The Snow Wolf King's cold eyes exuded a faint cold light, roaring like the wind and snow, rolling continuously, and his body was shrouded in the snow. Then, just as the Snow Wolf King was about to explode with extreme speed, he found that a force of destruction enveloped him. His limbs began to tremble and were stained with a layer of black, which was the erosion of the force of destruction. Roar! The Snow Wolf King roared and tried to break away, but it was too late. He saw a stunning fire, like a falling star in the sky. There was no pain at all. Under the firelight, his shiny hair instantly turned to ashes, and his defense was broken instantly like nothing else. Ouch! The Snow Wolf King roared unwillingly and was burned to ashes in the fire. A bright crystal fell. Chen Fan caught it with his hand, wrapped it with his true energy, and then glanced at the ferocious beasts around him. Buzz! A terrifying fluctuation of mental power spread, and the surrounding ferocious beasts saw a pair of godlike eyes before they died, which were profound and mysterious, with indescribable power. Their lives were taken away in an instant, and they fell to the ground one after another. Chen Fan looked at the crystal in his hand and began to refine and absorb it. Office. All the feudal lords and generals had extremely strange expressions on their faces at this moment. Some frowned, some widened their eyes, and some looked dull. They even thought that the screen in front of them was broken. Why was the picture played so outrageous? This, killing the Snow Wolf King in one move, is this still a master? I'm afraid the ultimate master can't do this easily either. Many town generals felt that this was really outrageous. It felt like they originally thought that Chen Fan was standing on the middle floor of the building, but now they found that Chen Fan was standing on the top floor of the building. With such strength, he is already qualified to launch a sprint to the top 10. However, Feng Wuji and Temple Tianyuan, the feudal lords, noticed something different at this moment. Several strong men looked at each other, and they could see the shock in the eyes on the other side. After understanding the second stage of the destruction fist, it is certainly terrifying. But they discovered that Chen Fan's punch seemed to have the effect of ignoring defense. No matter it was the ferocious beast in front or the Snow Wolf King, under the light of that fist, the defense seemed to be fake. Logically speaking, it is not a goal. The more powerful the beast, the higher its defense is. If Chen Fan was a half-step general and could kill the beast instantly, they would still understand. But Chen Fan is just a Grandmaster. Just ignore the Grandmaster's defense. Either there was something wrong with the martial arts he practiced, or he had realized the legendary power. That is the power they all dream of and want to master. Chen Fan, Can't he really master that kind of power? A powerful man named Hu said to himself with a solemn expression. Temple Tianyuan looked serious, carefully watched several playbacks of this video, and said, there is a 70% probability that it is certain. Feng Wuji watched the video 10 times, frowning and then relaxing. He was now 100% sure. Chen Fan has indeed understood the supreme power of the fallen master, who is like a mythical figure. How is this possible? That gentleman used this kind of power to hunt down 3 terrifying level 10 beasts at a glance. His deeds are still being circulated to this day. Didn't you say that this kind of power will never reappear? How could it appear in a master? Is it possible that this person is the immortal seed of destiny? All the powerful feudal lords are unable to calm down at this moment. They are like turbulent waves. It is really difficult for them to accept this result. Because this result is simply incredible. If it is true, even if Chen Fan is ranked outside the 30th place, I am afraid that the sages in the academy will come over personally, take him under his tutelage, teach him carefully, and will not be stingy with any training resources. Temple Tianyuan said something that shocked everyone. Especially the major provincial leaders. After hearing these words, their faces were full of surprise and surprise. They didn't understand what these big shots were talking about. What exactly is that power? I can't explain it clearly, I'm really anxious. Just comprehending a kind of power can produce such a chain reaction, and even the venerable ones don't hesitate to come. How is this possible? At this time, Feng Wuji suddenly laughed and said, you guys are all soldiers, he should be a martial artist and possess certain characteristics of that kind of power. You must know that that lord only realized it when he was crowned king. That kind of power. How could he, a master, understand it? It was obviously our misunderstanding. Quote. When he said these words, he was so natural that those powerful men could not help but doubt themselves whether they had really made a mistake. Only Feng Wuji prayed in his heart, hoping that Chen Fan would never use this power again, otherwise he might not be able to let Chen Fan join their Tianyang palace. I'm afraid all the 10 university palaces will be rushing to ask for someone, which would be troublesome. Only Temple Tianyuan glanced at Feng Wuji and sneered in his heart. This little fox still wants to deceive him, an old fox. He has a high probability of being able to conclude that it is definitely the second stage of the Eye of Martial Arts. Although it is said that a person who understands the Eye of Martial Arts will appear every few decades, but in order to understand the second stage, only that adult has successfully understood it so far. And it becomes one of his killing moves. When used, it can directly ignore nearly half of the opponent's defense. At the beginning, this effect was simply unspeakably terrifying. Especially those strong men who are good at defense will be miserable when they encounter that adult. Any defensive measures are almost ineffective. Of course, the ones who hate that adult the most are those ferocious beasts. The ferocious beasts have always had rough skin and thick flesh, and their own defenses are amazing, but under the eyes of that adult's martial arts, their defenses have become a joke. However, because that adult killed too many ferocious beasts, a shocking battle eventually broke out. It is said that in that battle, the sky and the earth shattered, the mountains and rivers collapsed, and even the heaven and the earth were overturned. Blood flowed for thousands of miles, and the space became chaotic and a mess. It is said that there were more than hundreds of millions of ferocious beasts participating in the battle, including some ferocious beasts with unfathomable strength. They surrounded and killed that gentleman for 10 days and 10 nights, and finally killed him at a heavy price. On that day, blood rained from the sky, and countless humans cried bitterly and mourned for that adult. At first, many people even blamed other strong men for why they didn't support that adult. But those strong people also have difficulties. Because that adult went alone to save countless human lives. By the time others reacted and wanted to support him, it was already too late. When they arrived, the battle was over. The Chen Fan in front of him now has the potential to become another such a powerful figure and become the backbone of the human race. Such a rare genius must join their academy. Tian Yuan had secretly made up his mind to let Chen Fan join their academy at all costs. He will definitely regret it for the rest of his life if he misses such a talented person. Even in his eyes, the prince and the others were not as dazzling as Chen Fan. Even if the prince wins first place, it will only be cultivated as an immortal seed, and he may become immortal in the future. But Chen Fan is different. The special power he has comprehended is almost destined to become immortal in the future. And he is also the top powerhouse among the immortals. Feng Wuji is right, we all made a mistake. Tian Yuan also echoed Feng Wuji's words at this moment and began to mislead everyone. Did you make a mistake? A powerful man with a title of lord, a look of self-doubt on his face. Yes, I made a mistake. Feng Wuji nodded. He naturally knew that there was a high probability of this matter. He couldn't hide it from the old fox Tianyuan, but he should be able to hide it from other people. If it were just two schools competing against each other, there would be at least half a chance for Chen Fan to join. But if all the schools join in, the probability will be reduced too much. The surrounding town generals also breathed a sigh of relief at this moment, otherwise they would have been really shocked to see these big shots discussing like this. Especially the lord of Xingyu province and the others thought something was going to change. Fortunately it turned out to be okay. Palace Master Zhongnan glanced at Feng Wuji, feeling increasingly confused. He could feel that this adult seemed to be very excited, because after all, he had been following this adult for a while. But what exactly is this excitement about? He didn't understand. Is it simply because of Chen Fan's outstanding performance? But he felt it wasn't that simple. Master Zhongnan, you did a good job this time. This Chen Fan is just a little weak. If he doesn't rank this time, I will let my master personally accept him as a disciple and join Tianyang Palace. Feng Wuji's words made the surrounding generals look envious. This was equivalent to reaching the sky in one step. Regardless of ranking, being able to join the 10 university palaces is such an enviable perk. The Lord of Zhongnan Palace was extremely excited at the moment. Even if he was not a candidate for the immortal seed, he could still receive such amazing treatment. His face showed an expression of ecstasy. Thank you, Master Feng. He quickly clasped his fists in gratitude. Master Zhongnan Palace, I also have something to say to you. I hope Chen Fan can join the temple. I will ask a venerable person to accept him as a disciple. I will also give you Zhongnan Palace a lot of training resources. I hope you will seriously consider it, one time. Tianyuan also put forward conditions at this moment, and seemed not to care at all about Chen Fan's ranking. Feng Wuji looked at Tianyuan with a somewhat evil look in his eyes. Was he trying to steal someone from him in front of him? Tianyuan did not show any weakness at all, and seemed to have a kind-hearted look, but the pressure on his body bloomed, and the oppression made everyone present breathless. Seeing the tit-for-tat confrontation between the two feudal lords, everyone vaguely guessed some problems in their minds. But no, when they were thinking deeply, someone shouted. Look, Chen Fan is about to face a ferocious beast at the level of a half-step general. Everyone's eyes were attracted and fell on the screen. In the picture, a young man who looks a little thin is facing a ferocious beast that seems to be composed of countless stones. This ferocious beast has black scales all over its body, and its defense power is astonishing at first glance. It has a head like a triceratops, with a pitch-black horn on top of its head, and a pair of eyes that are black, as if they were dyed black by ink. This ferocious beast was 15 meters tall, and when it breathed in and out, there was a stench and strong winds. The beast's body exuded an astonishing coercion. At this moment, it opened its bloody mouth, and a foul and unpleasant smell hit his face directly from all directions. If ordinary people were here, they would probably faint from the stench. Chen Fan's face was expressionless, and the golden energy flowing in his body blocked this smell, and then there was some excitement in his eyes. He had just refined a ferocious beast crystal. He originally thought he would be able to step into the 10th level of the Grandmaster, but he did not expect that he was still far behind. But now, coupled with the beast crystal of the beast in front of me, it should be enough. I don't know if you can test the limit of my strength. The opponents he encountered before were too weak to test his strength at all. The scaled beast in front of him now, a half-step general-level scaly beast, happened to be an almost perfect experimental subject. After all, this is the strongest ferocious beast below the level of a general. It may bring him a little pressure, but it will not make him feel any fear. Come on, let me see, what is the difference between the 9th level of the Grandmaster and the half-step general? Chen Fan's body flowed with true energy, and golden flames covered his fists. The terrifying flames began to distort the surrounding air, and an astonishing high temperature filled the air. Chen Fan took one step out of the ground, and flames started to burn, all emanating from his body. With him as the center, the golden flames around him kept burning, controlling the endless flames. At this moment, Chen Fan was like the master of all fires. Chen Fan has never quite understood how big the gap is between the half-step general and his current Grandmaster realm. It is said that after reaching the level of half-step general, the strength of Qi in the body will be astonishing, the destructive power will increase exponentially, and the defense will also soar. It is said that compared with ordinary masters, it is almost an insurmountable level. And the defense of this unicorn beast in front of me is probably the best among the half-step ferocious beasts. An ordinary Grandmaster might not even be able to break through the opponent's defense, just like a human fist hitting steel, it is impossible to destroy it. Today, Chen Fan wanted to try it out. Will this defensive power be effective against his martial arts eye? At this moment, this unicorn-armored beast looked at the tiny humans on the ground with an extremely contemptuous look. He could feel that Chen Fan's cultivation was not very strong, but he couldn't understand how such a weak human came to this level. You little human being, go to hell. The dark pupils of the ferocious beast flickered for a moment, and he raised his huge claws. It looked very cumbersome, but the speed was so fast that it was difficult to catch it with the naked eye. It turned into a phantom and let out bursts of high-pitched laughter that ripped through the air. Okay, it's just a good time to test my current fighting power. Chen Fan had no idea of evading and directly used the martial arts Shengyang fist. He did not use the blessing of the power of vision because he felt it was unnecessary. Although the ferocious beast in front of me is terrifying, its actual combat strength should not exceed 20 million. Although the defensive power is astonishing, with the eye of martial arts, there shouldn't be much of a problem. The endless flames rolled, condensed into a fist mark, and blasted towards the top of the head. The punch looked very small, in sharp contrast to the huge claws. Office. Everyone was a little stunned when they saw this scene, thinking that Chen Fan was crazy. This kid is too confident. That's the Kirin armored beast known for its strength and defense. He's going to suffer a big loss. The town generals present commented that they did not think that Chen Fan could withstand the attack of the Linjiao beast. In their view, this is seeking death. But at this moment, Feng Wuji and Tian Yuan had some headaches. They originally thought that Chen Fan could be more restrained, but they didn't expect that his acting style would still be so exaggerated, without concealing his strength. It seems that the fact that Chen Fan has mastered the second stage of the eye of martial arts cannot be concealed. Even if the people present are present, when the half-step general level ferocious beast is killed, everything will be revealed. Look, the beast is dead. Suddenly, a town general exclaimed with an extremely exaggerated expression. The general, who originally thought that Chen Fan was overestimating his own capabilities, looked at the screen and the rest of his words were stuck in his throat, unable to come out. In the picture, they thought that the ferocious beast whose defense was close to invincible in the middle of a half-step attack was struck by that gorgeous and bright fist light, which was an unstoppable force that directly tore apart the scaled beast's defense. The size difference between the two was clearly too large, which caused a huge visual impact. Even a normal person would think that Chen Fan might be in trouble. Boom! But above the screen, layers of air waves rolled, the terrifying scaled beast's claws were directly penetrated, there were traces of flames burning on his body, and there was an extra hole in his body. It was penetrated by the terrifying fist mark. The scales on his body were just like decorations and did not play any defensive role. The huge body was violently blown away by this punch and hit the ground, causing the whole ground to tremble violently. Kill instantly with one blow, and subdue the ferocious beast at the general level in half a step. This made everyone present couldn't help but swallow their saliva, and their souls felt as if they had been shocked by electricity. They were numb all over and froze in place, silent for a long time. Because the impact on this picture really made everyone not know what to say. A head-on collision has exactly the opposite result. Is this still a master? It is not an exaggeration to say that he is a half-step general. And what does this mean? This means that the young man in the picture is also an extremely talented person, and I am afraid he has the qualifications to hit the top 10. The most important thing is that the kind of power he just burst out seems to have directly ignored the defense of the ferocious beast. You must know that this is a ferocious beast at the level of a half-step general. How could it be killed in an instant? In the second stage of the Eye of Martial Arts, he has definitely awakened that power. A powerful feudal lord came to his senses and glanced at Feng Wuji and Tian Yuan. He knew why these two people were hiding so much just now. These two people must have wanted to take such an unbelievable talent into their academy. When the other town generals heard this, their scalps were numb with fright, and they could not help but recall the original incident in their minds. That matter is still being circulated to this day, and they naturally know who that adult is. That is a godlike existence, the true backbone of the human race. He has killed countless ferocious beasts and protected the safety of the human race. He is a legendary figure. It is said that one of the powers he has comprehended is the second stage of the Eye of Martial Arts. With this power under his control, any ferocious beast with strong defense will be vulnerable to a single blow in the eyes of that adult. Unexpectedly, that kind of power reappeared now, and the person who understood it turned out to be just a young boy. This incredible conclusion filled everyone's faces with deep shock, and it took a long time to recover. They had just listened to the discussion among the powerful feudal princes and had not thought in that direction at all, but now that they had spoken out directly, they understood. Their eyesight is really poor. They have been looking at it for so long and still haven't noticed it yet. In fact, it should be said that they dare not think in that direction, because it is a bit ridiculous. Feng Wuji realized that he couldn't hide it anymore, and he sighed softly, but the more he looked at Chen Fan, the more he liked it. Because now Chen Fan is the best candidate for the immortal seed. The real combat power exceeded his imagination. The realm of a Grandmaster is so terrifying. What if you break through to a great master or a general? Those geniuses who are at the level of half-step generals just have an advantage in realm. But in the same realm, I am afraid no one can surpass Chen Fan, even those with the most top god-level talents. But what makes him feel regretful is that Chen Fan is only a Grandmaster, and there is a huge gap between the realms of those truly peerless geniuses. He may be able to break into the top 10, but that's the limit. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.